A voice calls out to Jungyun. A white-haired child asks a wounded man if they are friends. The wounded man calls the child a demon and identifies himself as a Wudang sect elder. The child scoffs at the elder's weakness and tells him to get a grip. The wounded elder is identified as Heavenly Demon Son Mubaek of the Radiant Heavenly Cult. Mubaek begs the child for help, saying she's the only one he can trust. He desperately reaches out, pleading for his granddaughter. His strength fails, and he collapses against a rock. The white-haired child bows their head and calls him stupid. With a tear in his eye, Mubaek wonders how the heavenly demon could ever trust someone. He clutches his chest in anguish. 2 ornate swords rest upon a stone. A white-haired elder with a long beard observes from a distance. He turns with a gentle smile. The elder calls out to a small, startled girl in a yellow skirt. The elder stands amidst the lush green forest. The narration introduces her as the heavenly demon's granddaughter. The elder approaches the girl, gently chiding her for not offering a greeting. The girl looks up at him, her expression timid. The elder sighs, lamenting that he has to deal with parenting at his age. Seeing the girl's single tear, the elder panics, asking why she is crying. The girl thinks he dislikes her for being the heavenly demon's granddaughter, causing him to fluster. He dismisses her fears as childish, though he privately admits her awareness is surprisingly sharp. The elder extends his hand toward the little girl. She stares up at his offered hand. He offers her a choice: come with him or stay in the forest forever. With tears in her eyes, she quietly asks if he truly doesn't hate her. The elder turns away, looking slightly flustered by her question. The girl stands close behind him, holding onto his sleeve for comfort. She turns to wave a final goodbye to the place she's leaving behind. Holding hands, the two walk away as she insists her name is Sojin, not Kid. As rumors spread of the heavenly demon's vanishing, the world slowly forgot him. A merchant reports to his leader that they are low on food with 4 days left on their snowy journey. The great journey leader, Do Shimgai, orders them to distribute warm clothes and ration the food. The caravan members work together to set up camp as night falls. Do Shimgai looks over, confused, after hearing a child's happy shout for her grandpa. Sojin, bundled in a warm winter coat, excitedly calls to the white-haired man that it's time to eat. The white-haired man gently cautions her not to run, lest she get hurt. Do Shimgai chats with Sojin, asking if she was bored, and she explains time flew by while watching the window. She flashes a bright, happy smile, and he expresses his gladness. Sojin asks her grandpa if he's cold, and he says no, as the narration reveals the merchants were initially scared to accept them. Do Shimgai recalls how they took the pair in, hoping to help the little girl return to her hometown. The white-haired man turns, revealing a yin-yang symbol on the back of his robe. Do Shimgai inwardly remarks that the man must be a master from the Wudang sect, while the white-haired man lets out a yawn. A merchant announces that the meal is ready for the great journey leader. Over a bowl of hot soup, 2 men discuss how strange the new pair is. They comment on the young man's odd, elderly behavior. One man notes that the Wudang sect has its share of eccentrics, like the sword Calamity, while the white-haired man feeds a smiling Sojin. In a flash of red and black, 2 swords are drawn in a fierce confrontation. A monstrous swordsman, once the Wudang sect's greatest calamity, stands over his victims. The sword Calamity left a trail of ruined sects and a permanently weakened Wudang. Yet for the common folk, he was a protector of the just. To them, he was seen as a true, chivalrous hero. A young man questions the legend of the sword Calamity, but an older man confirms the 30-year-old story is true. A man urgently calls for the great journey leader, who turns from a campfire to ask what's wrong. Someone announces that a group of travelers is approaching through the snow. The lead traveler tips his hat and offers a simple hello. He formally introduces himself as Shin Myungja of the Kunlun sect. Shin Myungja introduces his juniors, Youngdo, Youngsan, and Youngchun. He also introduces a red-eyed woman named Younghwa. Shin Myungja asks to accompany their group, prompting the great journey leader to ponder the famous Kunlun sect's reputation. The leader agrees, but the white-haired man holding a baby is wary, thinking the Kunlun sect is trouble. He's ordered to serve them anyway. Shin Myungja correctly guesses their destination is the Poison King's banquet, and the leader admits he was a substitute who got lost. Discovering they share a destination, Shin Myungja suggests they travel together, and the leader happily agrees. The leader feels immense relief, believing their journey is now safe from bandits. 5 days later, his optimism has completely vanished. His subordinate approaches with more bad news, and the weary leader asks what it is now. He laments that the Kunlun sect members are nothing like their reputation, instead acting like spoiled brats who get drunk, abuse the porters, and have delayed their journey by 4 days. An argument erupts as a Kunlun junior chastises a porter for mishandling an expensive cloth, but the porter denies fault. The item's immense value is furiously emphasized. Kunlun sect Youngsan angrily lectures the porter, demanding gratitude for their protection instead of complaints over a trivial piece of cloth. Youngsan grabs the terrified porter, threateningly asking if he wants to die. A voice calmly states the price is 1,000 yang, shocking Youngsan. The Great Journey leader corrects him. It's worth 1,000 gold yang. His men are stunned and the leader sighs, knowing his junior is clearly at fault. The leader is deeply disappointed in Shin Myungja, who ignores the trouble his juniors are causing. A man from the merchant group realizes the ruined item represented the merchant's entire fortune. One of his own juniors pleads with Youngsan to stop. Youngsan seethes with humiliation, thinking he was only trying to do something nice for Younghwa. Drawing his sword, he furiously accuses the merchants of being thieves. He raises his sword to strike down the lowly merchant. A powerful force suddenly intervenes, stopping the attack. Youngsan is thrown back with a grunt of pain. The white-haired man stands calmly before the carriage, having just sent Youngsan flying. Inside the carriage, the baby sleeps soundly as he silently curses the disturbance. As the onlookers stare in shock, he explains that he was trying to rest after putting the baby to sleep. His eyes glow with cold fury as he asks if they are prepared to take responsibility for waking the child. He repeats his ultimatum to the stunned Kunlun members. Enraged and bleeding, Youngsan struggles to his feet, questioning who dares to treat him this way. The white-haired man stares back, utterly unfazed. Younghwa observes, doubting the calm man can defeat her agitated senior brother. She grows worried, realizing this could escalate into a full-blown conflict between their sects. Resolved, she decides she has to stop the fight. She lunges forward, shouting for them to stop. But Kunlun's great disciple, Youngdu, calmly stops her, telling her to let them be. He argues that their sect's honor is more important than a piece of cloth. Youngdu dismisses the cost, adding that he's heard a certain powerful swordsman resides in this area. He smirks, anticipating an interesting fight and promising to step in himself to defend Kunlun's honor if Youngsan loses. A young swordsman thinks about his great senior brother's reputation as a battle maniac. He reflects on the elitism and arrogance that permeates his sect. He resolves to distance himself from the sect's decaying mindset. A different swordsman grits his teeth in frustration. He furiously questions how a mere swordsman from the Wudang sect dares to challenge him. He brings his sword down in a powerful, glowing strike. The white-haired man stares back with a cold, unimpressed gaze. Aha! The white-haired man's eyes glow as he prepares to counter the attack. Their swords clash in a brilliant flash of purple energy. The first young swordsman reels back in utter disbelief. The white-haired man stands victorious over his defeated opponent, wondering what just happened. He scoffs, wondering how such a weakling could even pose a threat. As the defeated swordsman foams at the mouth, narration condemns his immature arrogance. The white-haired man glances away from the downed opponent, worriedly asking if Sojin is still asleep. Sojin is seen sleeping soundly and peacefully. The white-haired man turns to face a new challenger. The first young swordsman, his eyes glowing green with rage, screams that he'll take down the bastard who touched his friend. The white-haired man looks bored, asking what the problem is this time. The crowd murmurs, accusing him of belonging to a treacherous demonic sect. The challenger, Young Do, introduces himself as Kunlun's poison heart brave swordsman, crackling with lightning. He vows to punish the white-haired man and expose the face behind his mask. Young Do theorizes that his opponent must have used sorcery to defeat Young San. He smirks, convinced that his own great skill would have otherwise noticed the trick. In his thoughts, Young Do admits he's just looking for an excuse to fight him. The white-haired man sizes up his opponent, concluding he's a cunning and malevolent being. Young Do lunges, unleashing his flying dragon-chasing lightning technique to boost his reputation. He unleashes a massive wave of energy called the Great Void. The powerful technique surges forward. Unimpressed, the white-haired man effortlessly catches the blue energy dragon with his bare hand. A boy in the crowd watches with a wide-eyed, comical look of confusion. Young Do's companions are stunned that he caught Kunlun's ultimate technique barehanded. An explosion of text expresses their collective, impossible disbelief. The white-haired man mockingly asks how he can call this pathetic technique swordsmanship. With a roar of annoyance, he crushes the energy dragon in his fist, shattering it completely. Young Do's subordinate screams in horror that he broke the cloud dragon sword. Young Do watches, aghast, as the sacred treasure of the Kunlun sect is destroyed with a single gesture. Closing his eyes, the white-haired man calmly states that it's been a long time. He opens his glowing eyes and mockingly asks if their arrogance is a tradition. He throws a powerful punch directly at his opponent. Ugh! The blow lands with a brutal impact, drawing blood. The great journey leader watches in shock as the challenger lies defeated on the ground. A subordinate rushes to the fallen Young Do, crying out for his great senior brother. The white-haired man turns away, his expression unchanged. Two more swordsmen leap forward, furious that he attacked their leader. The white-haired man finally draws his own weapon from its scabbard. He grips the hilt of his simple, unadorned sword. His eyes narrow with lethal intent. In a single fluid motion, he sheathes his sword. The two charging swordsmen are instantly thrown back by an unseen attack. Standing over his defeated foes, the white-haired man senses a familiar chi. A woman with dark hair stares in disbelief, recognizing a legendary technique. The mustached leader panics, realizing it's the chi burst sword, a technique beyond even the greatest masters. With a flick of his wrist, the white-haired man sends Young Sen flying with two thuds, making the leader suspect he's an ancient master in disguise. An unseen person shouts for them to stop, catching the white-haired man's attention. The mustached leader prostrates himself, begging for forgiveness for his earlier disrespect. The white-haired man gazes down silently at the bowing leader. The leader pleads for him to forgive the immature Kunlun disciples for the offense. The white-haired man coldly asks what he means by that. A terrifying red aura erupts as he questions the plea to spare them for Kunlun's sake. His eyes glowing red, he ominously asks if the leader truly doesn't recognize him. The stammering leader's confusion confirms the white-haired man's suspicion. He has forgotten. In a cold sweat, the leader desperately tries to place the terrifying man before him. He realizes with growing dread that he is expected to know this man's identity. A memory flashes the Wudang sect's symbol, followed by the man standing over fallen warriors, and the leader's mind screams in denial. He remembers his younger self standing amid a massacre, a past he's tried to forget. In the flashback, the white-haired man grabs his younger self, threatening to kill him like the others. The young leader trembles, paralyzed by fear. The leader's memory solidifies. 30 years ago, a Wudang master single-handedly defeated Kunlun's best, and his haunting smile now confirms the man's identity. He is the Wudang sect's greatest and most feared master, the Sword Calamity. Returning to the present, the white-haired man offers a knowing, faint smile. His demeanor shifts entirely as he playfully smacks the leader, reminding him to use the name Sword Immortal. The baby wakes up, calling him a brat, as the leader cries out to the Sword Immortal elder. Now a little girl, she defiantly states she won't stop until he remembers everything. She clutches her chest, erupting in a dramatic coughing fit. The battered leader groans, trembling as he tries to rise. The Sword Immortal draws a glowing sword, musing that the sword Calamity must have used a rejuvenation technique to look so young. Offering Kunlun's sacred cloud dragon sword as compensation for the silk, he horrifies the leader, who recognizes the treasure's immense value. The sword immortal's demonic aura returns, terrifying the leader as he asks what he plans to do about it. He smacks the leader again, blaming him for the incident, while the silk's owner nervously states he cannot accept the sword. The sword immortal presses the issue, but the merchant insists the sword is too expensive while the leader despairs over the loss of the sex treasure. He disposes of the unconscious Kunlun members, telling the merchant to consider the sword's value compensation for their behavior. The leader cautiously approaches, respectfully addressing him as Lord Sword Immortal. The leader offers a pouch of money as compensation, thinking he can't possibly accept it now that he's traveling with the world's greatest swordsman. He pauses, then respectfully continues his plea. He humbly presents the money, acknowledging it may not be enough for him. He explains the merchant and his granddaughter will need the funds for their journey ahead. The little girl runs to the merchant, her grandpa, and gives him a hug. The girl, Sojin, gives a joyful, heartwarming smile. The sword immortal smiles back, identifying the merchant as Doshimge and acknowledging his clever flattery and love for Sojin. He gently pats the smiling Sojin on the head. Returning the money, the sword immortal calls it an investment and has Doshimge agree to keep his presence a secret. As they walk away, the sword immortal considers the unconscious Kunlun members a bother but worries leaving them will cause rumors. Doshimge overhears the sword immortal casually wonder about dismembering them for easier transport and begs him not to. The sword immortal's pained expression makes the leader fear he might actually do it. With a surge of energy, the sword immortal effortlessly lifts a body into the air, shocking the onlookers. He raises all the unconscious disciples into the air using only his fingertips, a seemingly impossible feat. The leader recognizes the legendary object-absorbing technique. The sword immortal calmly holds his hand out, levitating the bodies with ease. He then directs his energy into the leader, using a healing technique to mend his injuries. However, he only heals the external wounds, leaving the man's internal chi veins and bones still damaged. The injured leader laments his inability to use internal energy while planning to have the porters handle the luggage. The sword immortal glances back as a porter collapses with a thud. Doshimge agrees with the sword immortal's principle that prestigious sex should share the people's burdens. The sword immortal shares a warm, genuine laugh. Someone notes how much the sword immortal cherishes the child, as he gently warns Sojin not to wander off. Still observing, the person wonders who Sojin is, having never heard rumors of the sword immortal having a child. Their long caravan continues its arduous journey across the desolate plains. An exhausted Manhwa sighs, wondering how many days have passed on their difficult trek. Longing for an inn, she feels she can't continue much longer. A couple of the Kunlun disciples cry out, declaring they're at their limit. Manhwa offers to help carry one disciple's luggage, but he furiously rejects her offer. Lying down in misery, Youngsan complains that his chi pulse is a mess and he's been forced to carry luggage instead of riding. One junior begs Youngdu to intervene, but he coolly remarks that Youngsan still hasn't learned his lesson. A sudden flash of light strikes the complaining disciple. A junior cries out in shock as Youngsan is knocked down by the cloud dragon sword. With focused eyes, Manhwa watches a wave of energy recall the sword. Far ahead, the sword immortal catches his sword, annoyed he had to intervene. Manhwa is stunned, wondering how he could possibly hear them from so far away. She questions if he can truly launch a chi burst with such impossible accuracy. She thinks in awe that even her own great master couldn't perceive a sound from that distance. She concludes that the sword immortal is a master beyond all estimation. The sword immortal notes that Youngdu is the most perceptive of the Kunlun disciples, possessing the potential to lead the sect one day. Yawning, he compliments the disciple's unknown master for raising him well as Sojin yawns beside him. He looks down at the sleepy Sojin, noting she's already tired. As he teases a yawning Sojin, the leader approaches, respectfully addressing the Lord Sword Immortal. Doshimge approaches with a smile, offering golden sweets he brought for Sojin. The Sword Immortal accepts them just in time, as Sojin's eyes sparkle with delight. While Sojin happily eats her treat, Dushimge reflects on the surreal experience of meeting the legendary Sword Immortal. His thoughts clarify that he is seeing the master's youthful appearance from his rejuvenation technique. The Sword Immortal's young form stands before a ghostly image of his true, older self. The leader worries how the long-absent Sword Immortal will react to the Wudang sect's current state and the chaos it might cause. With the Sword Immortal's return amidst growing conflict, the Wudang sect may be poised to rise once more. The leader considers sending a warning to the anti-Wudang alliance. He then greedily considers strengthening ties with the Sword Calamity now for future gain. A man in a mask suddenly calls out to Doshimge, who responds with a shout. The Sword Immortal smiles, suggesting they announce their imminent arrival at the city. Doshimge stares back, momentarily stunned into silence. He snaps to attention and shouts for everyone to listen up. He encourages the exhausted porters and disciples to endure just a little more. Announcing they will pick up the pace, he worries the anxious disciples. Soon they will arrive at a city with a dazzling night. The group looks down from a ridge at the brilliantly lit city of Urumqi. Fireworks light up the sky over Urumqi, a city so bright that it outshines the stars. The city is illuminated by magical, unbreakable lanterns. As a hub for trade caravans, inns are plentiful and easy to find. At a celebratory dinner, the leader shouts orders while another man urges him to relax and drink. Forcing a laugh, the leader tries to calm himself amidst the cheerful atmosphere. He finally agrees to a drink of top-quality fire liquor. The bandaged Kunlun disciple stares in disbelief and horror. He fumes, thinking of all the menial labor they performed only to be rewarded with a single bowl of porridge. A Kunlun disciple cries out that he can't hold on any longer. Young San, his eyes glowing with rage, screams "No!" as a fellow disciple asks for his uneaten porridge. Youngdu quietly reflects that they are still Kunlun's top disciples, pondering the legendary Sword Calamity as another disciple hushes him. He wonders about the Sword Calamity's sudden appearance and the child with him, as the Sword Immortal asks for child-friendly food. Sojin excitedly points out all the food she wants from a menu, but the Sword Immortal playfully warns she'll get fat. Watching them, Youngdu notes how precious the girl is to him, while Sojin pouts, remembering her grandpa called her pitifully thin. Youngdu is curious but decides against asking questions, fearing he might lose his meal, as Sojin watches with wide eyes. Sojin turns her head and offers a sweet, heartwarming smile. Startled, Youngdu wonders if their eyes just met. Sojin happily requests all the food she mentioned, leaving Youngdu to question if she's truly cute or if his eyes are deceiving him. Younghwa tells her companions not to pay the child much mind, suspecting she's no different from a demon for being with the Sword Calamity. Youngdu resolves that he would rather not be involved anymore. An hour later, defeated Youngdo sighs, lamenting that playing with the kids was supposed to be his plan. Sojin joyfully plays red light, green light, catching Younghwa and telling her to come here. Youngdu flashes back to the Sword Immortal, cheerfully suggesting they play with his kids, leaving him horrified while Younghwa smiles. Sojin looks up thoughtfully, planning to play along for a bit before getting away quickly. Holding Youngdo's hand, Sojin addresses him as Mr., and he nervously asks what's wrong. With tears welling in her eyes, Sojin asks if he doesn't like to play with her. Struck by her cuteness, Youngdu realizes his crippling weakness for adorable things. He eagerly agrees to play and calls for Youngsun to join, as the Sword Immortal watches from a doorway with a knowing smile. Someone gently pats Sojin's head, relieved that she resembles her mother instead of the heavenly demon's terrifying face. After observing for a few days, Younghwa concludes that Sojin is safe with them. The Sword Immortal stands on a rooftop, wondering if he can safely leave her with the group for a moment. He stands silhouetted against the sky atop a grand, illuminated building. The Sword Immortal looks down upon Urumqi, certain that those guys must be there. A crowd of men looks up, confused by the sudden commotion. A hand clamps over Do Shimgye's face as a voice asks if he's on a night walk, making him scream in terror. Clutching his chest, Do Shimgye says the elder gave him a heart attack, but the Sword Immortal coolly asks why he's so surprised. The Sword Immortal smirks ominously, uttering a single name, How Sect. Do Shimgye stares back, completely stunned and confused. He asks if the How Sect operates here, while Sojin wonders if there's any place they don't. A woman performs on a stringed instrument as narration explains the How Sect is a powerful underworld federation. Do Shimgye thoughtfully strokes his chin, agreeing that their presence in a city like Urumqi makes sense. He asks if the Sword Immortal needs information, but the man says it's a personal matter. He trails off, explaining, because, as a pickpocket is caught in the act behind him. The young thief, clearly a member of the House Sect, trembles in fear. With a menacing grin, the Sword Immortal demands to be taken to the thief's sect. Someone runs frantically toward an ornate building at night, shouting for the branch leader. An irritated voice from within demands to know the cause of the ruckus. The House Sect's Urumqi branch leader, Yoo Yun-song, sits annoyed with his robe open. A subordinate bursts in, panting that it's a serious problem. The white-haired demon has arrived. A sudden crash echoes as a sword flashes and a body is sent flying. The messenger crashes to the ground, bloodied and defeated. Yoo Hun-song looks up in confusion as the Sword Immortal stands over him, calling him an impudent brat. The Sword Immortal calmly stands over the chaos, asking the muscular man if he is the leader. The branch leader stares in disbelief under the moonlight, wondering who this intruder is. He trembles with rage, suspecting an assassin has been sent after him as the Sword Immortal stands among fallen bodies. Do Shimgye tells the Sword Immortal that this is the sect, noting that the leader looks familiar. A memory flashes in the Sword Immortal's mind of the Heaven Blue Merchant Group and the same branch leader. The branch leader's own memory surfaces, recalling his cruel order to strip the merchants of everything but their underwear. Do Shimgye asks if the muscular man is the branch leader, and the Sword Immortal confirms. Realizing his predicament, the branch leader prostrates himself, loudly blaming his subordinates for the misunderstanding. The Sword Immortal smirks, complimenting the man's quick grasp of the situation. He presents a blood-stained pouch, ordering the man to find its origin and owner. Giving his orders, the Sword Immortal tells the kneeling leader to also prepare for news from Sichuan. The Sword Immortal smiles benevolently, assuring the man that he will of course pay. His expression turns menacing as he declares he will pay by robbing the sect's treasury. With a powerful strike, he unleashes a blast of energy that shatters the floor. The attack reveals a hidden vault, overflowing with treasure chests and a golden sword. The shocked branch leader asks how he knew the treasure's location, and the Sword Immortal explains the commission fee will be covered by the loot they've collected from various businesses. Trembling with suppressed rage, the branch leader can only groan in defeat. A hand clutches a small pouch of money as Do Shimgye recalls the leader's defeated expression. The Sword Immortal remarks that he killed 2 birds with 1 stone, while Do Shimgye laughs nervously, thinking he's definitely not an ordinary person as he's caught trying to sneak some of the stolen money. Draping a pouch over Do Shimgye's head, the Sword Immortal grins as Do Shimgye recalls the unusual item he requested from the House Sect leader. The ominous, blood-stained pouch with a dagger inside is shown again. The Sword Immortal hums thoughtfully while examining the golden dagger and pouch, admitting he can't determine their source. He notes, however, that the items exuded a murderous intent, which has made certain things clear. Clutching the pouch, Do Shimgye grimly concludes there will be no peace for the Urumqi branch. The Sword Immortal eyes him, thinking he's more than just quick-witted. He compliments him on being quite the calculating person as well. Do Shimgye sweats, admitting that, while it's an audacious thing to say, it's true. He questions why the Sword Immortal went to the House Sect, just for information, when the Beggar Sect or his own merchant group could have investigated. The Sword Immortal offers only an enigmatic smile in return. He asks Do Shimgye if he's heard of the Flying Tiger escort agency incident from a year ago in the Great Desert. A reputable escort agency that once dealt with the Heaven Blue merchant group was completely wiped out. After a critical mission failed and their leader went missing, creditors swarmed the young successor. Soon after, a rumor spread that a generous wealthy person paid off the debts and took over the agency. Dushimge listens with a pensive and concerned expression. The Sword Immortal reveals that, in the end, the agency's head and his family were thrown onto the streets. Holding the red pouch, he reveals it was all the house sect's doing, as they used bandit gangs to orchestrate the robbery. He explains how they then played innocent, pretending to be heroes while devouring the agency's assets. A flashback reveals Yu Hyun-sang's evil grin as he takes over the Flying Tiger escort agency's connections and influence. Du Shimge grits his teeth, declaring that they're scum who deserve to die. Shocked at how much the Sword Immortal knows, he screams as the bloody pouch is tossed into his hands. He nervously asks why he's being given the money, and the Sword Immortal simply tells him to get ready. Confused, Do Shimge clutches the pouch and wonders what he's supposed to get ready for. A thought strikes him. The item given to the house sect is a decoy which will lead them to someone with murderous intent. His eyes widen as the full scope of the plan dawns on him. He realizes this is a golden opportunity for the Blue Heaven merchant group to rise to prominence. Dushimge excitedly vows to have his people ready to retrieve the stolen goods and find the missing family the moment the house sect in Urumqi collapses. Turning away, the Sword Immortal confirms that Dushimge truly understands the plan. He offers a slight, knowing smile as he walks away. In a brief memory, he tells someone to stop pestering him in his dreams. The sun rises over the city on the morning of the fourth day. Dushimge cheerfully rallies the group, telling them to set off with renewed energy after their days of rest. Carrying a sleepy Sojin, the Sword Immortal asks if he had fun last night, while Dushimge encourages everyone to push on to Sichuan. A dazed and nauseous Younghwa wonders what happened last night to make everyone look so rough. As Younghwa approaches, Yongsan panics, begging her not to use that sword again and promising to carry the luggage immediately. A flashback shows the Sword Immortal's blade stuck in a tree as he orders them to hurry up. As the sun shines brightly, the group finally leaves the city of Urumqi. A man with a bandaged head clenches his fist, asking if they have left. Cursing Yu Hyun-sung, he orders a subordinate to send a message to him. A sinister, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes materializes as he confirms the order. A fearsome warrior with glowing eyes is revealed as the Mad Typhoon Sand. The Mad Typhoon Sand smirks, intrigued by the mention of the Heaven Blue merchant group. The scene shifts to the southern plains of Bagot Peak. A merchant points to a shortcut on the map, hoping to avoid desert winds. Another merchant expresses concern that the shortcut's rough terrain will be too difficult. The merchants gather around the map, contemplating their next move. One man panics, shouting that the area is infamous for its unbearable heat. A merchant in green robes raises another concern, grabbing the group's attention. He explains that travelers are now avoiding the Turpin route, having been strongly advised against it. Confused, the others ask what happened. He reports a commotion involving the Mad Typhoon Sand. The white-haired man stands calmly amidst the merchants. The name Mad Typhoon Sand echoes in his mind. His expression remains stoic as he listens to the news. Another merchant confirms the rumor, stating that Mad Typhoon Sand has settled in the area. A man recognizes the elder's voice as being broadcast with a powerful skill. As a merchant dismisses them as mere bandits, the white-haired man weighs his options. The white-haired man asks if they'll endure a delay, while another clarifies the bandits are a former unit of the Radiant Heavenly Cult. The name Radiant Heavenly Cult gives the white-haired man pause. The merchant explains, the bandits are elite warriors who declared independence from the cult. He continues, revealing their leader is a former elder of the cult, now a demonic master. The white-haired man startles the worried merchant by appearing silently behind him. The merchant nervously flatters him, but expresses concern over the bandits' large numbers. Looking down with resolve, the white-haired man announces he's made his decision. Picking up a small seal, he declares he's done with these fanatics. He raises the seal, his mind made up. Thump. He firmly presses the seal onto the map, marking their path. Overruling a subordinate's objection, the white-haired man declares the dangerous path is the fastest way. He gives a slight, confident smirk, his choice made. The great journey leader reluctantly agrees to the new plan. Du Shimge announces to the caravan that they are now heading towards Turpin. A merchant worries about facing the fearsome leader of the Mad Typhoon Sand. A woman offers to let Sojin ride a horse, while a man marvels at the sword Calamity's astonishing nature. As Sojin enjoys a piggyback ride, Do Shimge resolves to report the sword Calamity's youthful return to the Kunlun sect. Kya! Sojin shouts with glee, loving the ride. She suddenly yells an insult at Young Chun, shocking the men around her. The man carrying Sojin offers to help Do Shimge, who furiously calls him a stupid brat. A woman scolds the man for playing with Sojin but then invites the girl to play herself. An older man berates the woman, shouting that one shouldn't judge people by their appearance. The older man threatens to discipline his subordinate later, who tries to calm him. The subordinate whispers a secret, revealing Sojin sneakily brought them food the night before. The senior realizes the greasy food made them sick, but the subordinate nervously offers him some. The senior agrees to a taste, while a long-haired man smirks knowingly in the background. Sojin asks a woman to tie her hair, who agrees and thinks Sojin is a good kid. The woman reconsiders her opinion, realizing Sojin is kind despite what she heard from Youngdo. With her hair tied up, Sojin looks at her reflection with a gasp of delight. The woman reflects that Sojin, like the sword Calamity, seems to have an unfathomably noble background. Sojin happily runs towards the woman, her new hairstyle bouncing. As Youngwoo blushes, thinking how cute Sojin is, the girl happily tells her she likes her too, while the sword immortal looks on. Seeing the sword immortal's sour expression, Do Shimge privately realizes the man is jealous of Sojin's affection for others. The sword immortal asks Du Shimge if he has any children. Du Shimge proudly reveals he has 2 sons, which the sword immortal finds reassuring. With a sigh, Do Shimge admits that his sons are reckless. He recalls their noisy farewell and dreads their even noisier reunion. He reconsiders, hoping only that it won't be awkward, but admitting he'd be happy to see them. With a laugh, Do Shimge expresses his gratitude that they've grown up so well despite his failings as a father. The sword immortal's expression turns grave as he listens. His gaze sharpens as he suddenly orders everyone to evacuate. He warns Do Shimge that he has a hunch they are coming, leaving the merchant leader confused. Do Shimge's eyes widen in alarm as the realization hits him. As panic erupts, Do Shimge shouts for everyone to prepare for defense, with cries of bandits are coming echoing through the group. The sword immortal grimly notes that speaking of a tiger makes it appear as a rider charges forward with a fierce cry. The bandit leader on horseback eyes the group, wondering if they are the infamous Mad Typhoon Sand. The rider reveals this attack on the Heaven Blue Merchant Group is an annoying request from the House Sex Urumqi branch. Declaring himself the evil Dark Divine Typhoon, leader of the Mad Typhoon Sand, he sees an opportunity for profit and power. He confronts the merchant group, demanding to know why they are trespassing on his territory without permission. Du Shimge worries, realizing he's unprepared to face the Mad Typhoon Sand, let alone their fearsome leader. He knows the bandits are secretly the Iron Shell Cavalry of the Radiant Heavenly Cult, a force that might overwhelm even the Sword Calamity. He concludes that he must do everything in his power to avoid a fight. Du Shimge bows deeply, apologizing for their mistake and begging the great warrior for forgiveness. The bandit leader peers down from his horse and asks who he is. Du Shimge introduces himself as the leader of the Heaven Blue Merchant Group, surprising the bandit with his high status. Hiding with Sojin, Young-san nervously wonders what the leaders are discussing. As someone warns her to stay back, Sojin peeks out, thinking she recognizes the bandit leader. The bandit leader offers safe passage, but Do Shimge declines, citing an urgent request in Sichuan, which the leader interprets as a slight. Enraged, the leader asks if his group's request is more important, as dark energy gathers in his hand. If that is so, he snarls, charging forward with a battle cry. Du Shimge screams in terror for everyone to evacuate immediately. The bandits clash violently with the caravan guards in a flurry of motion. The sword immortal appears in a flash of light, his eyes glowing as he coolly asks if the bandit is the leader. The fierce battle continues in a blur of blades and bodies. The bandit leader's face freezes in shock and recognition. As the sword immortal moves with blinding speed, the leader is certain he knows who this man is. He remembers this terrifying figure as the very reason they fled the radiant heavenly cult, a monster even the heavenly demon wouldn't approach. Screaming, "Sword Calamity!" he realizes his fatal mistake in starting this fight. The sword immortal grabs the leader's face mid-attack, ordering everyone to stop. His men watch in confusion as the bandit leader prostrates himself, admitting he's seen the elder before at Mount Sky. He begs for his life, apologizing profusely for not recognizing the sword Calamity sooner. Unmoved, the sword immortal asks if he knows who he is, adding that he doesn't seem to be who he's looking for. The leader trembles, realizing the sword Calamity knows he's been recognized but feels unsettled by his presence. He promises from afar that his group will relocate and never speak of the elder again. Crying, he desperately vows to give up banditry and start a new life. The sword immortal asks if he can trust a demon, prompting the leader to promise he will work harder than a horse. The sword immortal considers that more workers could be useful, while the leader pleads for mercy, boasting of his strength. Wah! Sojin peeks out and excitedly recognizes the kneeling man as Younghwa tells her to stay back. The bandit leader looks up from the ground, utterly bewildered. He stares in disbelief as Sojin walks toward him, whispering, "Saintess." His shock turns to terror as he wonders why the Saintess is here, recognizing her with dread. The masked, white-haired man looms over a terrified subordinate, telling him he saw too much. 1 hour later, they stand before a mountain of gold, which the Mad Typhoon Sand planned to relocate. The white-haired man is amazed by the sheer size of the treasure hoard. A bearded man inwardly curses, regretting that he ever accepted this unexpectedly difficult mission. He can't believe he met the legendary Sword Calamity, a day he'll never forget. In a bloody flashback, he recalls the gruesome sight from 6 years ago on Mount Sky. The Sword Calamity's power was overwhelming, shaking even the sect's elders. In the aftermath, the white-haired man walks through a field of defeated warriors. An older master collapses into manic laughter before the white-haired man. The master acknowledges his opponent's greatness, deeming his skills worthy of a true rival. Now glowing with power, the heavenly demon declares the Sword Calamity his only worthy opponent. The heavenly demon met the Sword Calamity's might with complete nonchalance, his own skills equally impressive. A bald monk realizes their presence would only be a burden to the heavenly demon. The bald elder despairs, feeling powerless and admitting that running away is his only option. He worries about facing the Sword Calamity, especially since Sojin keeps looking at him knowingly. The white-haired man gets his attention, startling the nervous elder. With a simple gesture, the white-haired man points towards the mountain of treasure. The elder confirms the treasure is for the merchant group's carriage, but forbids him from riding it. He grimly announces that they will have to move all the treasure by hand. The merchant Du Shimge privately marvels at seeing the infamous Mad Typhoon Sand tremble with fear. He happily muses that he now has plenty of new porters for the journey. The white-haired man smirks, thinking he can read Du Shimge's expressions perfectly. The defeated warriors are put to work, hauling heavy chests as the caravan prepares to move. The white-haired man greets a busy Do Shimge who is assigning tasks to the new workers. A man named Younghwa is ordered to help move the luggage and readily agrees. Younghwa wonders where Youngdo has been, noting how much work there is to do. Youngdo appears behind him, startling Younghwa, who addresses him as senior brother. Youngdo watches the white-haired man and Sojin from a distance. The white-haired man glances back at him with an indifferent expression. A glowing, ethereal version of Youngdo appears before the white-haired man, asking, "What now?" The ethereal Youngdo looks momentarily confused. Wham! He suddenly drops to his knees, bowing deeply and thanking the elder profusely. He continues, shouting his gratitude, exclaiming that the elder's teachings helped him finally realize the truth of the world, leaving Younghwa utterly bewildered. Younghwa asks if they should stop Youngdo's strange behavior, but his companion says it's not necessary. Kneeling, Youngdo reflects on how his entire worldview shattered in just a few days. He realized his once praised swordsmanship was deeply flawed after his defeat. His perspective shifted after a kind man offered him a moment of rest. He saw how everyone lived their own lives but truly understood after seeing Younghwa and Sojin. Seeing Sojin's pure smile reminded him of something precious he had lost. He had forgotten the simple joys of childhood, buried under relentless sword training. Later, he was intimidated by the evil Dark Divine Typhoon's aura, feeling completely outmatched. He felt he couldn't fight him and was tempted to run away. A man holding a spear offered him reassurance, telling him everything would be all right. The man calmly advises him not to worry so much. Youngdo admits his hands tremble on his spear shaft, confessing his fear. He looks at the faces of his companions standing with him. Overwhelmed by his weakness, he feels deeply embarrassed. Despite his experience, his first instinct is still to flee from the fight. A sharp, tingling sensation spreads from his heart as he has a profound realization. Youngdo realizes the way of Tao is found in the ordinary. He feels the presence of Tao all around him. His sealed dantian opens, restoring his internal energy. He emotionally thanks the elder, calling him a father. As Youngdo bows, the Sword Immortal finds it a hassle. Youngdo kneels, deep in a state of enlightenment. Dushimge is overwhelmed by Youngdo's sudden enlightenment. The Sword Immortal acknowledges he sealed the dantian intentionally. The Sword Immortal glances at a flustered Youngdo. The Sword Immortal foresees a great future for him. The Sword Immortal decides to offer some words. He clears his throat, preparing to speak wisely. He levitates, hoping the gesture conveys his meaning. Whoa! The onlookers are stunned by the display. Sojin marvels at the glowing energy in the air. The merchants wish the mysterious immortal would stay forever. Hey, you jerkin' older merchant, scolds the younger one. He tells him not to be greedy. The man is destined for the heavens. Sojin looks down, saddened by the thought of his departure. The Sword Immortal advises Youngdo to focus on his own path. He advises Youngdo to nurture his newfound gratitude. He gives a final lesson. Share the way, but don't try to own it. He explains Tao is like sand. The tighter you grasp, the more you lose. Confused, Youngdo decides to just say something respectful. Ho ho! He thanks him for enlightenment, leaving the Sword Immortal baffled. Youngdo joyfully vows to help others find the way of Tao. He eagerly asks if his interpretation is correct. The Sword Immortal is shocked by his words and powerful chi. He achieves Triad Transformation Peak Harmony, a state of perfection. He praises his new Elder Master for the incredible guidance. Youngdo begs him to continue his guidance to Sichuan. The Sword Immortal sighs, unable to refuse his request. They look down upon a crowd 6 times larger than before. He observes the subdued new followers, worrying the Sword Calamity is tired. An older man scolds a younger one for his misplaced worry. He explains the Sword Calamity is using a meridian sealing technique. He gushes over the impressive technique that nobody can resist. Dushimge calmly smokes, remarking on the amazing sight. He notes that the subdued Mad Typhoon Sand are enemies of Kunlun. Feeling sympathy for the bandit leader, he asks for water. The bandit leader brings water, and the Sword Immortal reconsiders his sympathy. He learns Youngdo has left to spread the Sword Immortal's teachings. The former bandit leader sighs, lamenting his new life of powerless labor. But his greatest hardship is enduring the Saintess's intense stare. He believes he can't face the Saintess's fiery gaze. When she asks if they've met, he panics and shouts, I don't know. As Sojin recalls seeing him at the Holy Flame altar, the Sword Immortal calls her back. The Sword Immortal scolds her for approaching the scary-looking man. The Sword Immortal's expression hardens, thinking of the bandit leader. The bandit leader decides it's best to quickly get away. The Sword Immortal considers his next move, deciding to gather information about the Hao sect. He calls out to the startled former bandit leader. The Sword Immortal believes the man will be useful to him. The nervous former bandit leader asks if the elder called for him. The Sword Immortal cheerfully arranges a meeting for later that night to gather information. Night falls over the forest. He asks the former bandit leader about the current state of Zhongyuan. The man recalls it has been long since he left Jianghu after that day. The Sword Immortal explains his curiosity, noting how long everyone has been away from Zhongyuan. The former bandit leader hesitates, unsure where to begin his story. He asks if he should recount the unforgettable events of that day. In a flashback, the Sword Immortal recalls discovering a secret group called Hui and following his master's will to observe them. He remembers finding a hidden faction of Hui within the Radiant Heavenly Cult in seeking out his rival, the Heavenly Demon Sun Mubek. On Mount Sky, he confronted the Heavenly Demon, exposing the Hui members within the cult. The Heavenly Demon scoffed at his concern, as the Sword Immortal recalls arriving to find the cult already in chaos. An underling defends the Heavenly Demon's honor, but is quickly silenced. The Sword Immortal recalls his shock, realizing the leaders of Hui were his greatest enemies all along. The Heavenly Demon demanded he prove his worth, seeing their fated clash as for the best. The Sword Immortal accepts the challenge, determined to show his power. An unprecedented battle began, with white lightning striking from the heavens. While the cult's elders fled in terror, the Heavenly Demon was thrilled to face another monster like himself. The Sword Immortal raises his sword to the sky, gleaming in the sun. He approaches the waiting Heavenly Demon, leaning on his blade. The Sword Immortal confesses he has been bored his entire life. The Heavenly Demon smiles, feeling like he's seeing an exciting new horizon. Amused by the strange man, the Sword Immortal listens as the Heavenly Demon revels in the exhilarating moment. The Heavenly Demon declares him a true match and asks if he will help now that his abilities are proven. He extends his hand in a gesture of alliance. The Sword Immortal scoffs at the man's audacity as he explains the handshake is an offer to become comrades. Pondering the word comrade, the Sword Immortal looks at the offered hand. He firmly grasps the Heavenly Demon's hand, sealing their pact. The two rivals stand back to back, united in a new purpose. The Sword Immortal remembers trusting his new ally, Sun Mubek, as they prepared to hunt Hui together. He recalls his friend's dying words, begging him to take care of Sojin. A shadow of leaves falls, marking a somber memory. Honoring his friend's final wish, he took Sojin with him. A young Sojin takes his hand, beginning their journey together. The Sword Immortal bitterly reflects on his friend's foolish trust. He recalls their past conversation, where Sun Mubek questioned if that meant he shouldn't be trusted either. Sun Mubek called him a terrible friend, but the Sword Immortal now considers the meaning of the word. He admits that while he never used the word, he always considered Sun Mubek his friend. The memory of a small hand holding his lingers. Returning to the present, the Sword Immortal explains his 30-year seclusion and his need to understand what happened after that day. He commands the former bandit leader to tell him everything he knows. The scene shifts with a rush of energy. The Sword Immortal reflects on his inability to grasp Jianghu's rapid changes after leaving the mountain. He thinks of his duty to Sojin and remembers the decline of the Wudong sect. He wonders what on earth happened to the world he knew. The former bandit leader begins by mentioning the 10 pillars, prompting the Sword Immortal to demand a detailed explanation. The brief peace after their pact ended, and the forces of Jianghu began to realign. The Bald Elder explains that the Miram Alliance is now divided into 9 forces, forming the 10 pillars with the Radiant Heavenly Cult. The white-haired man asks if the 10 pillars are centered around the supreme martial artists, which the Elder confirms. Smirking, the white-haired man realizes the alliance fractured into infighting after his departure. The Bald Elder gravely informs him that there is a problem. When asked if he recalls causing internal strife, the white-haired man looks completely baffled. A flashback reveals that 30 years ago, frustrated by the Alliance's incompetent leaders, he challenged and defeated them all under the guise of a duel. He remembers beating up the Kunlun sect, admitting he grew so irritated that he eventually forgot about it. "Ha ha," he scoffs, wondering if they are still holding a grudge over such a trivial matter. The bald elder waves his hands nervously as the white-haired man smiles, asking what his point is. The elder explains that while not at war, the Overlord's castle and the Righteous Sword Clan are now under heavy surveillance by other factions. The white-haired man quietly wonders if those are the Huangbo and Nangong clans. He scoffs, thinking they've lost their minds, while the elder nervously notes the man's boldness in calling them bastards. The white-haired man admits his information is limited, since he's been away for so long. He observes that nothing has changed in 30 years and prepares to ask one final question, making the elder tense up. He asks about the recent chaos near Mount Tian and its connection to the Radiant Heavenly Sect, prompting the elder to wonder if demons are emerging from Mount Sky. The elder confirms something is wrong at Mount Sky, but states he couldn't investigate because the mountain is now sealed off. He anxiously wonders if the heavenly demon could be involved. The white-haired man coolly asks if he is curious about the heavenly demon. He bluntly informs the stunned elder that the man known as Mubake is dead. The elder is speechless, realizing he never heard what happened with the Radiant Heavenly Cult after the white-haired man left. With the sun rising, the bald elder takes his leave. The white-haired man stands alone, bathed in the light of dawn. He muses that the elder is surprisingly well informed for an outsider. He feels a sense of relief, noting the balance of power remains largely unchanged. He smirks, thinking the factions are still held together by friendships between their leaders, whom he calls bastards. He questions their ability to lead and wonders if they still resent him for events 30 years past. Finding it embarrassing to be counted among the 10 pillars, he enters a room as Sojin calls out Grandpa. Sojin yawns, asking where he's been all night, but he sees through her act, guessing she fell asleep waiting. Rubbing her eyes, Sojin asks him to tie her hair. He cheekily asks why she doesn't ask the Kunlun sect members instead. While sitting on his lap, Sojin looks up and asks if he's an immortal. He asks where she heard such nonsense, and she reveals the porters told her, making him realize she's been hearing strange tales from the others. Sojin recounts the porter's story. He was summoned to become an Earth immortal, but had to stay behind to save the world. The white-haired man looks utterly confused by her fantastical tale. He dismisses the idea of being an Earth immortal as too much trouble and tells her to change her clothes, but she hesitates. With a worried expression, she quietly asks where he is going. A memory surfaces of a dying old man with a mustache, telling someone they are like his grandfather. The memory continues as Sojin cries, pleading for him not to leave while a hand pats her head. Laughing, the white-haired man playfully ruffles her hair, causing her to pout that he ruined it. He reassures a blushing Sojin, asking where he could possibly go without her. She looks at him doubtfully, asking if he truly won't go anywhere without her. He pats her head and promises he has never lied, but she immediately calls him out, saying he lies all the time. He extends his pinky, offering to make a proper promise. Sojin remembers a moment from her past, a voice telling her that her hands hurt. In her memory, an old man with long hair insists she make a promise with her finger. The white-haired man tells Sojin to follow the gesturing old man, thinking that while he seems eccentric, he is a good person. Sojin and the mustached man from her memory stand behind a different white-haired elder, who seems to be in pain. The white-haired elder snaps, asking who they're calling eccentric, then softens as he pats Sojin's head. He gently strokes her hair, remarking that she is just like her mom, which prompts Sojin to ask if he knew her. The elder confirms her mother was his disciple, adding that Sojin shares her grandfather's lonely expression. A vision shows a young Sojin huddled before a glowing blue flame, destined to guard it for the Radiant Heavenly Cult. A young girl, accustomed to a lonely life, only wants to meet expectations. After the heavenly demon's death, Sojin's world began to change as she followed the Sword Immortal. He led her out of the lonely palace and into a world of new scenery. Just as her grandfather had said, everything she saw was new, strange, and fascinating. Her small hand tightly grips his robe for comfort and security. She feels safe, remembering her grandpa's promise to protect her. Elsewhere, two men see the girl and question why the saintess is in such a place. When she glances their way, one man panics, warning his companion not to make eye contact. She watches them, confused, as they awkwardly try to hide behind a tree. The men grow more frantic as she walks toward them, deciding to pretend they don't see her. Sojin approaches the bald man, stating she remembers him from the Demon Heaven Festival and asking why he is ignoring her. The bald man flashes back to the festival, a ceremony to honor the first heavenly demon ascending. He's inwardly touched that the saintess remembers him, even though he's no longer a follower. Another man rebukes him for his pretense, and the bald man nervously denies that they are the ones she remembers. The men look uncertain what to do, as the young girl waits for an answer. A tall, red-bearded man, the chief, appears before the group. His followers worry, noting their chief's bad mood after his talk with the sword Calamity. In a dark memory, the sword immortal gravely informs him that Mubarak has died. The chief is visibly shaken by the news of the heavenly demon's death. He scoffs internally at the idea of revenge, having chosen to leave Mount Sky himself. He thinks of the loyal men who followed him without question. Worried his followers would rush into a blind rage for revenge, he hides his grief, until Sojin calls out to him. She looks at him with concern, asking if he's okay because he looks hurt. Startled by the saintess's sudden kindness, he stares in disbelief. He is struck by the unexpected intensity in the young saintess's gaze. The chief remains bowed, overcome with his internal conflict. Sojin smiles, explaining that her grandfather always patted her head whenever she was in pain. Moved by her simple act of comfort, tears stream down the chief's face. As she pats his head, her followers look on while she innocently asks if he's crying. His men kneel in despair, lost without their heavenly demon lord and wondering what to do. Time passes, and the scene shifts to men packing and loading supplies for a journey. A man named Haeung smiles and says good morning as Sojin runs happily toward the sword immortal. She excitedly asks if they are going to Turpin, and the sword immortal confirms they will leave after packing. Wah! She enthusiastically offers a man a gift of small, square snacks. A woman calls out to Sojin while the man stammers his thanks for the unexpected gift. The woman offers Sojin a round, patterned snack in return. Sojin laughs with delight, and the sword immortal watches with a fond smile. As she greets a group of men, one stammers nervously, and another scolds him for his informal tone with the saintess. The man insists he wasn't being rude, as the sword immortal observes Sojin's boundless energy. He reflects on her former isolated life in the Holy Flame Palace and Mount Sky. He muses that being surrounded by so many people must be a fascinating and enjoyable new experience for her. Sojin happily asks a kind woman named Manhwa to tie her hair. She giggles as the men she calls uncles make funny faces to entertain her. The sword immortal notes that since the chief learned of the heavenly demon's death, his men have been discreetly escorting Sojin, seemingly without ill intent. He asks if she likes her new life, and she beams, shouting, yes. Her face radiates pure happiness and joy. He watches her run freely, thinking that while he was initially sad to let her go, seeing her smile now makes him happy. He realizes he is also learning new things by watching Sojin discover the world. He thinks it's nice to have people around, but begins to worry what will happen if her world continues to grow. The former bandit leader trudges barefoot, wondering what to do. He recalls a sage's words about fleeting resolution. The truth of those words now weighs heavily on him. He screams, cursing the heavenly demon lord's revenge. Overburdened and exhausted, he cries out that he's going to die. He notes his subordinates are suffering as well. He grimaces, cursing the heat of the Turpin Basin. Without his internal energy, the trek is absolute hell. The former bandit leader asks a smirking Youngsan why he's laughing. He grits his teeth, convinced they're all doomed. He despairs, knowing the sword Calamity won't restore his power. Du Shimge asks about the burdensome number of people, and the sword immortal agrees. The former bandit leader frets over crossing Human Pass with so many goods. Suddenly, he shouts that he has a great idea. He rushes forward, startling the Sword Immortal and Doshimge. He volunteers to get more people, but the Sword Immortal is skeptical. He stammers nervously, unable to articulate his plan. He whispers to the elder, promising a plan with no downsides. Doshimge remarks that the bandit seems to be thinking hard. The bandit leader beams as the Sword Immortal agrees to his plan. Zap the Sword Immortal places a hand on his forehead, restoring his energy. His eyes widen in shock at the sudden influx of power. He feels his internal energy joyfully returning to him. His once heavy luggage now feels as light as a feather. Realizing he can escape, he glances back at the Sword Immortal. Laughing manically, he makes a run for it, vowing to return. Doshimge calls him unreliable but says only the elder can judge him. The Sword Immortal dismisses the man's escape and asks Doshimge for the item. Doshimge opens a chest, revealing a glowing cosmic orb. The mysterious purple orb radiates a strange energy. The Sword Immortal recognizes the bead with a knowing smirk. He calls it an ordinary black bead, puzzling Doshimge. Doshimge is certain there's something hidden within the bead. The Sword Immortal learns that another person, besides Yu Hyun-song, requested the bead. Doshimge reveals the other party is the Great Young Lord. He explains the Great Young Lord, Jin Seohwan, is rivals with his own master, Jin Seseong. Jin Seseong has invested everything into this perilous journey. Success would elevate his status, but the Great Young Lord hired bandits to stop him. Doshimge fumes over the scheme that nearly cost innocent lives. The Sword Immortal wonders what makes the strange bead so valuable. He learns the original merchant bought it for a high price, thinking it was a gem. The Sword Immortal thoughtfully inspects the powerful orb. He asks to keep the bead, and Doshimge readily agrees. Doshimge asks how they should handle the Great Young Lord. The Sword Immortal offers to take care of the matter for him. Doshimge respectfully declines, stating he must handle it himself. He declares that the Great Young Lord must be held accountable for his actions. The Sword Immortal smirks in agreement with his resolve. Doshimge promises to handle it, as the elder reminds him to ask for help if needed. The sun rises over Human Pass, the gateway to the west. The story begins at the Snowy Mountain Stronghold, located on the western edge of Mount Kilian. This stronghold is a powerful force, feared even in the Gobi Desert, as a man runs urgently toward a snowy fortress, shouting for his chief. He bursts in, yelling about breaking news. An elder fishing is annoyed by the commotion, and the messenger stammers as he identifies his leader, the Kilian fisherman elder. The elder erupts in anger, asking if they were robbed again. He questions how the radiant heavenly cult's territory could be breached. The messenger explains their income has halved and they've lost contact with the Mad Typhoon Sand. The elder realizes something big must have happened, perhaps an upheaval within the radiant heavenly cult. He briefly wonders if the heavenly demon is dead, then dismisses the thought. Brushing off his dark thoughts, he decides to finish fishing, but is interrupted again by the shouting man, whom he scolds for his volume. The man explains a messenger hawk just arrived from Mad Typhoon Sand and presents a scroll. The elder grumbles that he should have led with that information. Musing that the bastard evil dark divine typhoon is still alive, he decides to read the message. He carefully unrolls the parchment, his expression stern. Elsewhere, a man with long white hair arrives at a large, snowy gate. He stands before Human Pass, his expression grim. He confirms to a bald, red-bearded man that he has temporarily lifted the closing meridian technique as requested. A vision shows a massive merchant group, which the letter said would be plundered, leading to the subjugation of the Snowy Mountain stronghold. The red-bearded man frantically asks if the white-haired man thinks they will fall for such a simple plan, but then confidently asserts they will come. The white-haired man considers that the leader is the Kilian fisherman elder. He recalls his past troubles, noting the current plan is to gather all the mountain bandits. He concludes he would never have done this if not for Shimge and Sojun, who have nothing to lose if they trust him. He remembers that the Killian fisherman elder is known for his sharp intuition. The red-bearded man shivers, feeling a sudden chill as the white-haired man thinks about confiscating his martial prowess if the plan fails. The white-haired man comically schemes about how to manipulate the man. A caravan travels through a snowy pass as one man announces they're about to enter a canyon. A woman with purple hair warns everyone to be careful as the road ahead narrows. Suddenly, she looks up with a gasp of alarm. She stares in shock, spotting people positioned on the cliffs above the canyon. The Killian fisherman elder smirks from his perch, realizing the letter from evil dark divine Typhoon was true about the merchant groups. He introduces himself as the Killian fisherman, leader of the Snowy Mountain stronghold, and invites the bandits to take their treasure. The red-bearded man, watching the scene unfold, wonders if the elder actually believed the letter. The white-haired man chuckles softly at the successful deception. Swoosh, he appears behind the seated elder, sword drawn. The elder turns, surprised to see evil dark divine Typhoon and the man next to him. He recognizes the familiar face of the red-bearded man standing beside the imposing white-haired man. The elder's men watch as the two approach. Whack! One of the elder's men violently strikes down a traveler. A bandit cries out as one of his own men shouts a warning to the chief. The elder realizes it's an ambush and is thrown backward. He curses in shock, realizing his mistake. Roaring in betrayal, he is suddenly injected with a glowing syringe. Keek! A sword hilt strikes him in the face, knocking him out. One of his men screams for the chief as a traveler is taken down. The white-haired man and the red-bearded man stand over the fallen Killian fisherman elder. The red-bearded man sighs in relief, glad he backed down before, while the white-haired man can't believe such a reckless plan worked. The red-bearded man looks on with a grim expression. He regrets listening to Evil Dark, admitting his complacency led to his subordinate's capture. The defeated elder lies on the ground, determined to protect his grandchild and family back at headquarters. The white-haired man looks down, pondering why a young man using the rejuvenation technique would be in a place like this. As the Sword Immortal seeks the Snowy Mountain stronghold, the former bandit leader eagerly claims to know its location. An angry shout echoes through the mountains, cursing the evil dark divine Typhoon. A tied-up man, revealed to have planted informants, rages against the evil dark divine Typhoon and demands to be freed. Annoyed by the outburst, the Sword Immortal orders his men to remove the shouting captive. The Sword Immortal's ally asks the former bandit leader about his informants, but the bandit smugly admits he doesn't know where they are. Threatened by the Sword Immortal, the bandit quickly points towards a mountain, claiming he knows another way. He directs their attention to a distant, sharp mountain peak. The bandit leader explains they've spotted the Snowy Mountain stronghold, where the Killian fisherman elder has left a scout behind. He lays out his plan. The scout will lead them directly to the stronghold, so they just need to follow him. The Sword Immortal's ally remarks that bandits think alike, and the Sword Immortal agrees it takes one to know one. The bandit leader, the evil dark divine Typhoon, happily offers his services, crediting the great warrior for the operation's success. At the Snowy Mountain stronghold, new arrivals look on in shock as a raid begins. An old man despairs as his life's work is plundered, while another points out the vast amount of valuables. The man cries out as raiders carry off chests of his secretly stashed wealth. Another bandit discovers precious Shaolin elixirs, which the old man recognizes as his own great restoration pills. Tied up and helpless on the floor, the old man screams in utter despair. The evil dark divine Typhoon taunts the captive, who furiously calls him a traitor. In a flashback, the evil dark divine Typhoon proposes a, quote, great idea to the captive elder, who initially refuses to partake in such a vile act. But unwilling to be the only one to suffer, the elder agrees and releases his carrier pigeons. The pigeons sent by the Killian fisherman elder fly across Jianghu, spreading his message far and wide. A man receives one of the messages sent by the fisherman elder. The letter is revealed to be a copy of the one sent by the evil dark divine Typhoon. The Black Ox stronghold's leader, Iron Mountain Black Ox, roars with rage upon reading the message. The evil Dark Divine Typhoon privately muses that since he lured these new people in, he should have jurisdiction over them. The Typhoon smugly agrees with the captive Iron Mountain Black Ox's furious accusations. Iron Mountain Black Ox considers his situation, realizing that while he's a pawn, taking over other strongholds isn't a bad outcome. He concludes that gaining control of such a large force makes this a profitable deal for him. A quick flashback shows the fisherman elder pitching the same scheme to Black Ox, who then orders his own pigeons sent out. The bandit group has now swelled to several thousand, an army formed from those caught seeking victims themselves. The evil Dark Divine Typhoon confidently directs his new, massive workforce. He adopts a new philosophy. If he can't escape the sword Calamity, he'll become a king under his command. As the bandit leader barks orders, the Sword Immortal notes his excitement, pleased that he'll have more followers to care for him. The Sword Immortal stands alone in the forest, deep in thought. He holds the cosmic bead, wondering why Emperor Xuanyuan's legendary Black Pearl is in this place. A story begins, telling how Emperor Xuanyuan lost his Black Pearl while traveling near Lake Qi. Despite his most capable ministers trying, only the slow-witted Dang Wang was able to find the lost pearl. The tale concludes with the lesson that a calm mind can perceive wisdom even when the world seems murky. From another perspective, the Black Pearl is simply a treasure of exceptional value. The Sword Immortal contemplates the bead, knowing the Emperor would stop at nothing to retrieve it. He admits he doesn't know its purpose, but was able to sense its true nature from its spiritual key. He muses that such a treasure is out of place here, and the great young lord's desire for it is suspicious. He deduces that either the great young lord is knowledgeable, or he is merely a puppet for someone else. Holding the pearl, the Sword Immortal feels certain he knows the truth of the situation. He decides they must strike the moment they reach Sichuan, sensing a sinister aura around the great young lord. Holding his weapon, Dragon Slayer, and the pearl, the Sword Immortal grins and says, "Let's eat this." A surprised Sojin exclaims at the sight of so many people gathered below. She points out the endless line to her sister, who warns her it's dangerous to be out in the open. The purple-haired woman ponders their situation, noting their caravan has already entered Ningxia. She worries about their numbers, now thousands of bandits, and wonders how much larger their group will become. The purple-haired woman worries their large group will cause a stir in Jianghu. She reviews their route, noting they are about to enter the Kongtong sect's territory in Gansu. She knows the Kongtong sect will not tolerate thousands of bandits on their land. She frets that if the Kunlun sect disciples are discovered, the Baihua alliance will formally protest. She considers the chaotic possibility of mobilizing the myriad poison clan as well. Shaken, she realizes the situation is rapidly spiraling out of control. This entire journey, she thinks, is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Elsewhere, a man notes that senior uncle Shin Myangja is ignoring the Sword Immortal's actions. He adds that even great senior brother Yang Do, who should be furious, is silent. A man with long dark hair smiles blissfully, praising the Almighty Father. The crowd cheers wildly, shouting their belief as he preaches from above. The purple-haired woman watches in disbelief, thinking her enlightened senior brother now resembles a cult leader. An older man with a goatee greets a newcomer, noting that their leader now personally prevents internal conflicts. Another man reflects that the massive caravan moves efficiently, with everyone fed and watered on time. He realizes the person responsible for this incredible feat is nearby. The cause of all this order is the white-haired man relaxing lazily on a moving cart. Sighing, the purple-haired woman wonders if it's truly all right to let things proceed this way. She feels certain that something has gone terribly wrong and must be corrected. Sojin calls out to her sister, who gently asks why she has left the carriage. Sojin grins, explaining she wanted to watch the sunset together with her. Standing beside the caravan, they both watch the sunset as Sojin exclaims how pretty the sky is. The older sister gazes at the horizon and softly agrees with a gentle smile. Holding Sojin close, she decides that as long as her little sister is happy, nothing else matters. In another region, a fearsome bandit leader wearing an antler headdress stands with his men. A story begins of how rumors from the remote borders were initially ignored in Zhongyuan. People dismissed the whispers, confident the 10 pillars of Murim would maintain the balance of power. A man scoffs at the idea of another large group forming, and his companions nod in agreement. But when a massive force emerged from Ningxia, Jiang Hu was shocked to find the rumors were all true. The source of their terror was confirmed. The evil dark divine typhoon had appeared to lead them. When legendary warriors like the Killian Fisherman Elder and Iron Mountain Black Ox joined the ranks, fear spread. The news of their union caused everyone who heard the rumors to tremble. Wham! A man slams his fist on a table, furious that thousands of bandits amassed without anyone knowing. He declares the situation a grave danger and calls for a united defensive front against them. He urgently orders a messenger to contact the Manhwa alliances for reinforcements in Gansu. As the Kongtong sect named the new threat the Black Turban Thief, other powerful clans watched keenly. At the House sect branch in Urumqi, a man rushes in with urgent news about Mad Typhoon Sand. The branch leader reads a letter, his hands trembling in shock at its contents. He realizes Mad Typhoon Sand intends to kill him, a sudden betrayal after he hired them to attack a merchant group. Overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, he clutches his head in despair. He considers fleeing but knows he would be caught in no time. Deciding to ask for help, he orders a letter prepared, only to be handed a scroll that just arrived from the main branch. He reads the scroll from his superiors, who ask if he knows about the evil dark divine typhoon gathering forces near Gansu. He's bewildered why the typhoon is in Zhongyuan when he'd been threatened with a direct attack. His confusion turns to panic as he questions why the bandit is now leading thousands of men. Cursing, he realizes the main branch now suspects him, and he's trapped. Marked for death by two powerful forces, he resolves to do whatever it takes to survive. Frantically, he rummages through a desk drawer, searching for a specific item. He pulls out his last hope, a small, ornate dagger. He recalls a suspicious request he once received from a mysterious member of the Wudang sect. He decides his only path to survival is to find the owner of the hood and dagger and pledge his loyalty. The House sect branch leader kneels, tormented by a request from the sword Calamity and vowing to survive. A few days later, he furiously orders his men to find the owner of a specific hood and dagger. A subordinate nervously approaches the smug, white-haired House sect leader. The leader impatiently demands the results, and his subordinate reveals the owner is someone they know as the branch leader is suddenly shown in a bloody scene. The branch leader falls backward, splattered with blood. A blood-stained man with long hair smiles cruelly, asking, "Why?" Standing amidst the carnage, the long-haired man asks the branch leader why he's attempting such useless things. The branch leader is terrified by the man's sudden appearance, who says he heard he was looking for something. The branch leader, Hai Hao, realizes the man's playful exterior hides cruel actions and questions his presence. The long-haired man holds up a bloody cloth as an answer, and Hai Hao recognizes it as what Sword Calamity wanted. Seeing a blood-soaked pouch, Hai Hao realizes with dread that he is about to die. Hai Hao makes a desperate lunge, but the long-haired man watches him calmly. A swift and bloody slash cuts through the air. The long-haired man stands over Hai Hao's bisected corpse, surprised he is still clinging to life. Crawling on the floor, Hai Hao's upper torso refuses to die. He presses the ornate dagger to his own throat as the pieces of the puzzle begin to connect. He finally understands the truth behind the Flying Tiger escort agency. The long-haired man grabs his hand and offers a chilling apology. He warns that his lord said getting involved with the Sword Calamity only leads to headaches. Wiping his blade, the long-haired man muses that since he's already half dead, there's nothing more to lose. A false letter in Mad Typhoon Sand's name will frame the evil dark divine typhoon for Hai Hao's murder. The unseen narrator remarks that they are struggling to the point of death. The House sect branch erupts in flames as men shout in panic, trying to find their leader and escape. A mysterious hooded figure watches the inferno from afar. The figure turns away from the fire, their face hidden in shadow. Elsewhere, children play happily, as one is called Captain. The boy, Han Hyunyo, youngest grandson of the Killian Fisherman Elder, looks up questioningly. Another boy urgently gets Hyunho's attention. He whispers to Hyunho, pointing out a girl peeking at them from behind a tree. A young girl with brown hair watches them play, as the boy suggests they invite her to join. Hyunho immediately rejects the idea. He recalls being told he could play with the other children on their journey. His grandfather, the Killian fisherman elder, had warned him to be wary of the girl who travels with the sword Calamity. Realizing she is the girl from the warning, Hyunho tells his friend to ignore her and keep playing. Sojin's older sister finds her hiding and asks what's wrong, startling her with a yelp. Sojin calls out to her sister, Younghwa, who gently encourages her to share what's making her sad. Younghwa looks over and sees the other children playing, instantly understanding the situation. The scene notes that the growing caravan has brought more children along. Younghwa realizes that Sojin, used to only being around adults, naturally longs for friends her own age. She asks Sojin if she wants to play, and the little girl shyly nods yes. When asked why she doesn't, Sojin admits she has never had friends and doesn't know how. Younghwa empathizes, thinking that she and Sojin are the same. She reflects on her own isolated upbringing, admitting she still doesn't know how to connect with people. Admitting she even feels awkward around her senior brothers, Younghwa resolves to help Sojin. She knows the best outcome would be for the other kids to invite Sojin themselves. Han Hyunho looks on with a bright smile. He blushes, realizing the other children find Sojin too intimidating to approach. It's explained that the great respect powerful figures showed the sword immortal is the cause of this intimidation. Younghwa puts a comforting arm around Sojin as they watch the other children from a distance. A woman suggests asking the ponytailed man for help, saying he's great with kids. The man laughs heartily, happily carrying 2 children on his back and shoulders, as someone asks if he wants the young miss to play with other kids. The purple-haired woman asks the great senior brother to help Sojin make friends, while someone off-panel wonders since when he started calling her miss. She mentally addresses him as Younghwa, noting how much he's changed, and questioning if he's the same battle maniac she once knew. She reflects warmly that the once quiet and gloomy child has grown enough to genuinely worry about others. In a comical chibi moment, the purple-haired woman panics while Younghwa laughs cheerfully with a child on his back. Younghwa pats her head, wisely stating that caring for others is a sign of growth, and trusting someone with those concerns shows even greater reliance. Blushing, the purple-haired woman is grateful, but internally complains about him bringing up her dark past. Younghwa enthusiastically suggests a plan to help the young miss play with her peers. The white-haired man looks up, surprised by the unusual request to teach Sojin and the other children how to write. The purple-haired woman explains her reasoning. Learning to write together will help Sojin quickly become friends with the other kids. The white-haired man is surprised to learn the idea came from great senior brother Youngdo, prompting the woman to reflect on how much he has changed as well. The white-haired man thoughtfully considers that Sojin is having trouble making friends, admitting he hadn't realized her worries and needs to think on it. The purple-haired woman suggests starting with basic characters, since some of the children haven't learned to write yet. She also offers to assist with teaching classics and virtue, which the white-haired man agrees to in principle, but notes there is a problem. He bluntly states that their levels are not a match. The white-haired man looks at her seriously, explaining that the children she's talking about are the children of bandits. He foresees that if those kids study alongside Sojin, they will only feel alienated by the difference in their abilities. He questions how someone who barely passed a provincial exam could keep up with Sojin, shocking the purple-haired woman who asks if Sojin has even learned to write. The white-haired man reveals Sojin has already mastered the 4 books, 3 classics, and other advanced texts, as she's shown diligently studying. The purple-haired woman is stunned as he continues, explaining Sojin is now studying Confucianism and strategist teachings because she found the classics too old-fashioned. Impressed by how difficult Sojin's studies are, the woman admits she underestimated the girl's intellect and now wonders what they could possibly teach her. An idea suddenly strikes the purple-haired woman as she suggests teaching them martial arts instead. The moment she speaks, she feels a sudden, powerful chill as a cold chi fills the air. A terrifying, dark aura surrounds the white-haired man as he rises from the ground. With glowing blue eyes, His shadowy form looms over her, questioning if she truly said martial arts. His intense, glowing gaze fixes upon her as he repeats his question. The scene turns black, focusing on his piercing eye above the words, "endless pit." The purple-haired woman stands frozen, facing a terrifying vision of an all-consuming abyss that represents his power. Trembling, her mind goes blank as pure instinct screams at her. She senses a deep, cold darkness that is overwhelmingly dangerous. She remains paralyzed, caught in the silent gaze of two giant glowing eyes in the darkness. The pressure lifts as the white-haired man simply says, "I'm sorry." Gasp. The woman collapses in relief as the white-haired man calmly states his belief that Sojin doesn't even want to learn martial arts. He continues, saying that even if Sojin did want to learn, he would suggest a different activity. Clutching her chest, the woman struggles to comprehend the terrifying power she just felt, wondering what kind of being the sword Calamity truly is. The scene shifts to a large caravan, which has been continuing its journey southward without any obstacles. The caravan approaches the imposing stone walls of the Lanzhou Castle entrance fortress. One of the men on horseback nervously suggests that the great journey leader should come to the front. The stout leader reflects that after passing through Ningxia, he thought the rest of the journey would be easy, but now it feels like a war is about to erupt. He looks up at the fortress walls, which are heavily manned with soldiers and warriors, confirming the tense atmosphere. Two men discuss the situation, one asking if the rumors about a joint front established by the Kongtong sect are true. The other confirms, listing the sect's elite squads, just as someone in the caravan spots a particular man on the fortress wall. Shanxi Regional Commander Mok Piang shouts down from the wall, angrily demanding to know why the scoundrels are here and accusing them of oppressing Lanzhou. Commander Mok first assumes they are just a group of bandits, but is taken aback by their immense numbers. The stout leader of the caravan rides forward, smiling and cheerfully greeting Commander Mok, saying it's been a while. Commander Mo recognizes great journey leader Du with shock, asking if he was taken hostage. Du calmly explains they finished business in the west and are returning home. Du gestures with a friendly smile toward the massive group behind him, explaining they are simply people they met along the way. Commander Mok explodes with fury, pointing out their weapons and luggage and questioning how they could possibly be called merchants. Leader Du calmly acknowledges the commander's confusion and proposes they share a drink to discuss everything peacefully. A man declares they need not worry, as the strong rule here. He suggests using Sword Calamity's name to avoid trouble. A sect official furiously demands they identify their leader. The red-bearded man has a smug epiphany. The white-haired man internally regrets his identity being known. He decides they must handle the consequences of their plan. Recalling the man's silent command, the leader hesitates. Panicked, the red-bearded man struggles for an answer. He remembers the white-haired man's earlier instructions and promises of support. Furious, he feels betrayed and silently curses him. A warrior, Jia Subaik, steps up to face the feared incoming leader. The Kongtong sect's great elder, Jia Subaik, is introduced. Jia Subaik orders his men to ready their crossbows. With the crossbows aimed, he prepares to give the order. He curses himself for trembling in fear before the demon. A confident man tells the great elder not to be nervous. Captain Dyson calmly reassures the nervous elder. He deduces the enemy is cautious and seeks negotiation. He laughs off the tension, much to the elder's chagrin. The elder silently questions his ally's bold impulsiveness. He suddenly shouts in alarm from the castle wall. From the crowd emerges Youngdo of the Kunlun sect. His senior uncle moves to stop him, but Youngdo is determined. The uncle fears his actions will provoke the Manhwa alliance. He reminds Youngdo of his duty as Kunlun's future leader. He warns that his actions could endanger the entire sect. Youngdo questions if politics should outweigh righteousness. He argues inaction makes them no better than bandits. The senior uncle is left speechless by his argument. Youngdo clarifies his goal is to prevent needless sacrifice. Realizing he's right, the uncle acknowledges his growth. But still worried, he desperately calls out to the others. He orders the other disciples to stop their senior brother. His fellow disciples move to block his path. He calls out to his juniors, Young San and Young Chun. His uncle and juniors plead for him to stand down. He warns them to move or be moved by force. Drawing his sword, he prepares to fight his way through. He clashes with his sect brothers in a blur of motion. The senior uncle groans, having expected this outcome. Suddenly he cries out as his senior uncle strikes him down. His uncle stands over him, resolved to stop him personally. Stunned, he suddenly cries out, Younghwa. Younghwa blocks the attack, urging her senior brother to go. She accepts future punishment, earning her brother's thanks. With the path cleared, he surges forward with renewed power. He leaps gracefully toward the formidable fortress wall. The senior monk asks her plan. She believes it's a test. She questions how he, of all people, cannot understand. Her words challenge his assumptions, forcing him to reconsider. Youngdo smiles, admitting he was also slow to realize the truth. He adds that it's natural for others to be unaware, as the monk calls him Sword Immortal. As the crowd watches, including a blushing, white-haired man, Youngdo thinks, please watch over me. The crowd believes the saint is stepping forward to perform a miracle. He walks with purpose as the crowd reverently parts to let him pass. Facing the fortress, he calls out, asking them to listen. He pleads with the Manhwa alliance to lower their weapons, declaring his followers are not enemies. On the wall, a man recognizes Kunlun's great disciple and wonders if the sect has joined the demonic path. Youngdo passionately explains the chaos within the Heaven Enlightenment cult. He addresses the fortress, knowing the caravan size will disrupt Zhongyuan and deciding not to mention the Sword Immortal. To prove his intentions, he invites one of their warriors to step forward and confirm his words. A man in ornate blue robes wonders why the demonic practitioners, especially the battle-crazed Poison Heart swordsman, would accept a blood-sealing technique. The man in blue considers the intelligence he's received, believing Youngdo but still wary of the group's size and demonic members, deciding against letting them pass. He shouts to the black turban thieves that they cannot be accepted as a person's nature cannot be changed. He dismisses Kunlun's opinion and declares they have no way to confirm the group's repentance. However, he offers a compromise, allowing some of them to pass if they accept certain conditions. Youngdo's expression darkens with concern at the unexpected terms. The man lays out his demands. They must split into groups of 100 and submit to the alliance's leadership. He promises to help them enter Zhongyuan if they agree, but the bald monk behind Youngdo furiously rejects the idea. The man in blue grimaces, having expected this refusal. He furiously shouts that he knew they would refuse. Drawing his blade, he orders his men to aim their crossbows, and they immediately comply. As the bald monk calls to prepare for battle, the red-bearded monk tries to de-escalate, but Youngdo cries out that they're all about to be killed. Overwhelmed, Youngdo despairs at how wrong things have gone and prays for wisdom. A figure in purple robes suddenly flashes onto the scene. Youngdo is startled by the man's sudden, silent arrival. The long-haired man in purple robes waves a casual, confident greeting. He greets an old acquaintance, surprised to see them here and not at an upcoming birthday celebration. He approaches Youngdo with a friendly, open gesture. Youngdo begs him to trust them, but the man calmly explains that such a large, sealed group is still a threat. The long-haired man smiles and suggests a different approach to the problem. He steps forward, confidently proposing a competition instead. Youngdo is taken aback, questioning his sudden proposal to compete. The man confirms he wants a fight but clarifies his target is not Youngdo, but a powerful fighter he senses is hidden in the crowd. His senses hone in on a powerful aura emanating from the massive group below. He is thrilled by the thought of a master who can make his heart race. With a sly grin, he officially proposes a best-of-3 contest. He declares his second challenge will be against the evil Dark Divine Typhoon to sharpen his spirit. Finally, he states that a match with the unknown master will make the entire journey worthwhile. He turns the decision back to Youngdo, who can only mutter his name, Iksan Yu. Dae Iksan smiles, awaiting Youngdo's answer to his challenge. The narration introduces Dae Iksan, a supreme martial artist and the first disciple of the Manhwa Alliance's leader. A flashback shows him playfully escaping as his subordinate yells for the great leader. The narrator explains that despite his free spirit, he despises taking responsibility for anything. He holds the title of Hualong Squad Captain, but only out of a reluctant sense of duty. He often indulged in delinquency, believing life would be more fun without his obligations. Dae-ik-sun truly enjoyed life-and-death battles against powerful opponents. This shared love for battle is precisely why he became close to Young-do. However, unlike Ik-sun's indifference, Young-do was filled with immense pride for his Kunlun sect. But their desire to fight strong opponents was one and the same, forging a bond between them. A man notes that his opponent, Young-do, was taught by a supreme martial artist. Young-do observes his friend has changed while lamenting his own tattered robe. His opponent inwardly scoffs, seeing Young-do as a beggar unfit to hold a sword. He declares that a weakened Young-do no longer has the right to face him. The man smirks, confidently asking Young-do to accept his proposal. Elsewhere, an elder erupts in anger, shouting at the Hualong Squad Captain. While Ik-sun demands an answer, Young-do inwardly wishes to avoid conflict. Young-do contemplates whether this confrontation is a necessary borderline to cross. From horseback, two men watch the tense situation unfold. Young-do yells that he accepts Ik-sun's proposal and asks who his first match is. Ik-sun draws his sword, asking why he's asking such an obvious question. He lunges forward, declaring himself as Young-do's first opponent. Ugh. A brilliant flash marks the fierce clash of their blades. Thrown back, Young-do is mocked for becoming even more pathetic. He grips his broken sword hilt, preparing for a seemingly impossible fight. Ik-sun charges forward, a blur of motion closing the distance. Young-do realizes that Ik-sun has grown even stronger than before. A blue aura surrounds his broken sword as he notes its unusual weight. A white-haired elder recalls the moment, wondering if agreeing was the right choice. Young-do realizes his neglected training has caused his skills to decline. Facing a stronger opponent, he doubts his own ability to win. A spectator watches the fight, thinking the outcome looks difficult. A young man asks his senior uncle why he isn't stopping the senior brother. The senior uncle thinks that skill with a sword requires constant practice. A white-haired man watches with concern, feeling he cannot just stand by. A calming voice tells the young swordsman to relax. The voice instructs Young-do to listen to the voice of the sword. Young-do is confused by the sword immortal's cryptic advice. A sudden wave of understanding washes over him. Ik-sun roars that he's had enough of the delay. He unleashes a powerful, sweeping slash. He taunts Young-do, daring him to fight instead of running like a coward. Challenged to fight head-on, Young-do clears his mind and a dragon's aura appears. He focuses his intent, channeling all his chi into the tip of the blade. A storm of crackling blue energy erupts between the two combatants. Roar! Young-do raises his blade, summoning a massive spirit dragon. The powerful sound is identified as a dragon's roar. A spectator looks on in shock, realizing the sound comes from the cloud dragon sword. His peers are stunned, as their senior brother has achieved a feat even their uncle couldn't, fulfilling a sect legend. An ancient mural depicts the legend. When the dragon awakens, Kunlun's spirit covers the sky. The senior uncle is awestruck to witness the legendary scene with his own eyes. Young-do feels an incredible sensation, as if riding a dragon above the clouds. He laughs with renewed confidence, shouting, "Let's play together." Wrapped in the dragon's power, he launches himself toward Ik-sun. Ik-sun scoffs, questioning if a dragon's roar can truly change the outcome. He yells that the title of Great Martial Dragon is not so easily achieved. The two powerful sword techniques collide in a blinding explosion. Ik-sun plans to break the sword, but is suddenly struck by an unfamiliar power. He recoils in terror, shocked by the overwhelming force of the sword. Blasted backward by the energy, Ik-sun can only think, "Impossible!" A flashback reveals Ik-sun's defeat. Young-do reflects on the battle. He defiantly challenges the fortress for another opponent. He stands ready, awaiting another challenger. The memory of Ik-sun's disbelief lingers. Ik-sun and other masters were all defeated. The commander is stunned by Youngdo's easy victory. A warrior admits underestimating Youngdo's true strength. Youngdo declares the contest's outcome is decided. He demands they now honor their promise. He commands the guards to open the gate. The commander hesitates, unwilling to let them pass. He orders the guards doubled, fearing consequences. Youngdo realizes the gate isn't opening. The bald monk scoffs at their untrustworthiness. He furiously declares they can't be trusted. He unleashes the Black Killer Beast Seal. He vows to show them true power. His dark power surges violently. Youngdo grabs the bald monk, whose ally dismisses his plea to stop. The red-bearded monk argues for using brute force. He prepares to unleash his own power. As the wall collapses, soldiers panic. A soldier orders the injured to safety. Dae-iksan awakens amidst the chaos. He learns the enemy leader is here. A sudden command halts the chaos. The Great Lord arrives, scolding his men for their lack of pride. Dae-iksan complains about the fight's interruption. Dae-iksan takes command as future leader. The soldiers are stunned into silence. Overwhelmed, the commander gives up. Taking charge, Dae-iksan orders the gate opened. The massive fortress gate slowly opens. The caravan begins to enter the fortress. The caravan members cheer as they enter. A man calls out Youngdo's name. Dae-iksan checks if Youngdo is okay. In a stunning move, Youngdo bows and apologizes. Dae-iksan expresses gratitude for Youngdo's decision. Youngdo warns Kunlun will face consequences. Dae-iksan accepts this with a promise. Youngdo acknowledges him as a worthy friend. Dae-iksan vows to win their next encounter. Dae-iksan reflects on Youngdo's surprising strength. He resolves to resign and train harder. He continues his train of thought resolutely. He thinks of the group's unseen master. The white-haired master decides to send a challenge. The caravan heads toward the border for resupply. The fame of Youngdo and his followers spreads far and wide. Youngdo's victory earns him the name Half-Sword Invincible. A man notes that Kunlun is now a popular topic of conversation. A woman dismisses Kunlun, asking about the powerful Black Turban Thieves, who are described as a large and formidable group from Lanzhou. The man in green scoffs, but admits the Manhwa alliance is rattled by the group. The white-haired master reflects, certain of one thing. He strokes Sojin's hair, noting their anonymity makes things unexpectedly interesting. He smiles mysteriously and trails off, saying, but his companion questions their future, warning of the myriad poison clan ahead. The white-haired master simply smiles with confidence. He worries about the caravan's safety once they go their separate ways. He acknowledges the concern, but is fine with his involvement being known. The man worries, but the master hands him a mysterious red scroll. Confused, the man takes the scroll and asks what it is. The master offers only a knowing smile in response. A weary commander learns the group has reached the Sichuan border. He sighs, learning they used main roads while avoiding villages. The subordinate shouts his acknowledgement with military discipline. Overwhelmed, he fears his failure will lead to exile. Suddenly, his subordinate returns with something he almost forgot. The item is a scroll from the Great Journey leader, confusing the commander. He unrolls the confidential message, meant only for him. Reading the contents, his eyes widen in utter shock. He stumbles back, reading an imperial edict from the Prince of Qin. Overcome, he drops to his knees in a deep bow before the edict. By a campfire, the white-haired master asks if the delivery was successful. His companion confirms it was, earning a good, "You did well" from the master. The man hesitates before asking what the delivered item was. The master explains he heard Mok Pyong lost his mind over it. He reveals the item was a red writ iron certificate from the Prince of Qin. His companion is stunned, connecting the Prince of Qin to a famous general. He realizes the letter's significance and reflects on the hierarchy of princes. An explanation reveals single-character princes are second only to the emperor, and the Prince of Qin is a mysterious one. He realizes that if the master can send such a letter, then perhaps he is. The white-haired master smiles, calmly confirming, That's me. He explains he once helped a kid who became the current emperor, shocking his companion. A flashback reveals the emperor bestowed his title upon him for his past aid. His companion is shaken, realizing the legendary sword immortal is the mysterious Prince of Qin. The master admits he never wanted the title, but the emperor insisted. He smiles, seeing his position as a useful tool and a way to provide for Sojin. His companion finally understands how the boy emperor held on to power. The master laughs, warning him to keep his identity secret from the myriad poison clan. Relieved, he realizes the group is safe with the Prince of Qin's backing. He now worries about the central government and the myriad poison clan, noting the challenges ahead. He watches the legendary master struggle with a hot potato, breaking the illusion of invincibility. His companion offers to take the hot food, and the master gladly accepts. The scene transitions, showing a branch of delicate white flowers. The beautiful flowers mark the passage of time. A young Sojin walks through a sunlit forest. Nearby, children laugh and play, sparring with wooden sticks. From a distance, a young girl watches two boys playfully sparring with sticks. A young boy asks his captain if they should just leave the watching girl alone. Another boy notes she has been sneaking around and watching them for 2 weeks now. The captain thinks she should be hurt by being ignored. From behind a tree, the girl wishes she could just ask to play with them. The captain hesitates, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He wonders what she's seen in her life to have such pretty eyes. Haya, in a flurry of motion, a boy accidentally strikes his captain, who cries out in pain before they both tumble to the ground. The boy who fell apologizes for hitting him so hard, but the injured captain insists it's fine because he wasn't concentrating. As another boy suggests getting an adult, the captain quickly tells him not to bother. The girl steps forward, surprising the others as she asks them to move aside. She shyly announces that she, Sojin, will help. With a determined look, Sojin declares she will treat the captain's wound. She kneels by the injured boy, telling him to wait a moment. Sojin presents an ornate container of precious wound medicine, surprising the other children. She gently applies the medicine, asking if it hurts, and the captain says no. Sojin points out that he's bleeding, as the captain thinks about how she's treating him kindly despite his coldness. Gazing at her, he suddenly thinks that she's pretty. Flustered and blushing, the captain calls out to her. He shyly asks Sojin if she wants to play with them, and she looks up in surprise. A man with long dark hair watches from the bushes, pondering how he can help Sojin make friends. He worries that forcing the kids to interact will only make Sojin feel more alienated. He decides to trust senior brother Youngdo's advice to let the children figure it out themselves. Peeking through the leaves, he is taken aback by what he sees. He watches in surprise as Sojin and the other children laugh and play together happily. Sojin beams, her face lit with pure, unadulterated joy. The man wonders how she managed to get along with them so quickly. Relieved, he realizes he was worried for nothing. He understands with pride that Sojin did it all by herself. A warm, proud smile spreads across his face as he watches her. Elsewhere, the white-haired man looks troubled, thinking that things have become complicated. Seeing a certain woman reminds him of someone from the cursed Yang clan. An older man apologizes, but the white-haired man assures him he will prevent further issues. The white-haired man states that only the elders in the myriad poison clan can recognize him. He asks for a room for himself and Sojin on the return journey, explaining that she wants to see the world and he has a place to visit. The older man agrees to make immediate preparations, suspecting he wants to visit the house sect. A blood-splattered sword is shown as it's stated the sword Calamity plans to retrieve his bait from Urumqa. A caravan travels under a full moon as someone sighs. A woman with dark hair tied in a bun looks on with a worried expression. Her attendant, Igyo, asks the young lady why she's sulking after a successful negotiation, and the young lady realizes why her father sent her. Igyo understands that the young lady is referring to the white-haired man. The young lady recalls the man's ominous aura, guessing he's a high-ranking member of the Black Turban Thieves. She wonders if he is the true mastermind behind the group. She excitedly declares she has found her destined partner, shocking Igyo, who realizes she means the white-haired man. Dang Chae-young states that her partner must have a face like his, and Igyo realizes her mistress was sulking because the man didn't make eye contact. With a devious smile, Dang Chae-young vows to have him, certain that no man can resist her charm. She mentions that one thing bothers her, and Igyo asks what it is. Dang Chae-young reveals that the man looks remarkably similar to the person depicted in a scroll at her great-aunt's home. The scene shifts to a man with brown hair carrying a child on his shoulders. An elder tells the primordial heavenly lord that Sojin was excited to go with him this morning. The purple-haired woman watches them, thinking she'll never get used to seeing the primordial heavenly lord acting so paternal. The purple-haired woman hesitantly asks if they should go, then confirms her decision. The white-haired master reflects on a popular saying from Jianghu's past. She believes traveling together is for the best, especially considering Kunlun's original purpose. Carrying a small child, a man with a ponytail suddenly recalls their forgotten mission. He smiles sheepishly about forgetting as the purple-haired woman chides his carelessness. Their official mission is revealed, to deliver birthday greetings to the Poison King. She thinks it's understandable they forgot, considering all the chaos they've been through recently. Even senior brothers Youngsun and Youngchun were acting like porters, causing everyone to forget. The purple-haired woman sadly remarks on having to leave a place she'd grown fond of. The man with the ponytail smiles, remarking that forgetting the sect leader's order is unthinkable. He expects Chengdu to be lively for the birthday, and she recalls they were warned to avoid any conflict. The city of Chengdu is so crowded that no inns have any rooms left. He sees this as the perfect opportunity to spread the teachings of the Sword Immortal Elder. Sojin runs forward, happily waving and calling out to Sister Manhwa. The master confirms their shared destination and jokes that they were short on porters. Sojin tugs on her grandpa's sleeve, asking if she can bring her friend along. He happily agrees, thinking to himself that she's finally made some friends. Overjoyed, Sojin runs to tell her friends that they can all go together. The children all shout for joy, excited to go on the trip. Wah! The master is stunned by the sheer number of friends Sojin has brought with her. Resigning himself to being a nanny, he's told by his companion it's time to depart. With a strained smile, he mutters that the number of children is driving him mad. He thinks he only expected 1 or 2 children, not an entire entourage. The man with the ponytail shouts with renewed excitement. He is then shocked to see a group of elders slowly making their way toward them. He identifies the elders of the Black Turban Thieves as the master despairs over his growing responsibilities. His companion worries that their large group will violate their agreement with the Myriad Poison Clan. The original agreement allowed only 30 people to enter Chengdu, a number they have far exceeded. Facepalming, the master sighs that this won't do and they need to increase their manpower. He slyly suggests a simple solution. Just claim that extra people were with the caravan from the start. Their journey takes them to the vibrant and busy marketplace of Chengdu. 2 children gaze in wonder at the bustling city, eager to explore. The children immediately run wild, forcing a bald monk to chase after them frantically. The red-bearded monk laments his new job title, babysitter. He takes grim satisfaction in seeing the other stern warriors suffering alongside him. A young disciple argues that their association with the Blue Heaven Merchant Group could bring harm to Kunlun. A senior disciple dismisses the concern, stating such matters are not their responsibility to handle. The senior disciple suddenly clutches his chest, looking pained. He declares he will hold them back, even if it means they must cut him down. He turns to Yangdo and pointedly asks if he is a person of Kunlun. Or a person of Wudong, he presses, leaving Yangdo shocked into silence. At the manor gate, the senior disciple pounds on the door, pleading for it to be opened. The crowd waits anxiously as the gate remains shut, shouting for someone inside to answer. As Manhwa voices her concern, the senior disciple admits the situation has become complicated. A man with a fan smirks, revealing that the great young master, Jin Seowan, ordered the attack on them. The red-bearded monk looks on, confused. As it's explained, his presence prevents the young master from covering up the incident. An old man relaxes, feeling safe, but then notices the child traveling with the sword immortal. He's suddenly struck by a chilling aura and instinctively knows not to look back. He glances back anyway, meeting the master's intense, glowing blue eyes. Finally, the crowd stands before their destination, cheering for the Blue Heaven Manor. A man smiles, noting how little has changed in 4 years, while his elder companion agrees that time seems to have stopped. Another man disagrees, pointing out the crowd's energy, but the first man clarifies it's just a feeling. Hearing the commotion outside, the man wonders what is going on. A man in formal white robes is surprised to see the great journey leader Du has returned. A distraught man grabs him, demanding to know where the caravan leader is, but is told to calm down. He's directed to a mourning flag as proof of the grim situation. The man is stunned to learn that the funeral of the former caravan leader, Jin Se-ryong, is underway. A man with a long white beard grimly thinks that nothing has gone right since he got involved with a certain someone. An elder sighs, lamenting that while the black turban thieves grew powerful, his stronghold did not, and all the credit went to another man. He clutches his chest, mourning his glorious past, as his grandson asks him what's wrong. He reflects with relief that his grandson, who used to be friendless, is finally adjusting well. A child riding on a monk's shoulders calls out to his friend, Hyunho, who eagerly responds. The grandfather watches the boys play, reconsidering his retirement, and thinking that maybe staying here isn't so bad. He recalls his past life of barely surviving the harsh desert winds, a stark contrast to his peaceful present. A man whispers that supporting great journey leader Du will guarantee the great young master's downfall, prompting his companion to investigate. The man is suddenly grabbed, preventing him from leaving. The man with the mustache warns him not to get involved this time. Young Do tries to protest, but his senior uncle scolds him for repeatedly breaking the sex rules by meddling in external affairs. The senior uncle holds young Do back, acknowledging the young master's crimes but insisting it's not their business to interfere. The manor gate finally creaks open, and a man with a large pack announces its opening. As the large wooden doors swing inward, the group prepares to enter. A man shouts angrily, demanding to know why it took so long for the door to be opened. He falls silent in shock as men dressed in white mourning clothes emerge from within. The travelers stand confused, questioning the meaning of the mourning flags flying over the manor. The red-bearded monk resolves to be careful, knowing the sword Calamity guy is protective, as a little girl asks him what she's pointing at. He tells her it's a bird's nest, and she excitedly asks if there are eggs inside. He looks weary, anticipating her request to see it up close. A moment later, the little girl stares in wide-eyed wonder at the nest. Wow. Lifting her onto his shoulders, the red-bearded monk lets her see the tiny baby birds inside. A white-haired elder watches them with a sigh, gently warning the girl not to touch the nest. He grumbles to himself about his rival giving a piggyback ride while he has to manage another child. A man named Do Shimge smiles, thinking it's natural for them to be full of energy after returning home. He looks upon the grand estate, reflecting that the business world is even more brutal than Jianghu. A shadowed figure vows to deal with the great young master, the caravan leader's son. Du Shimge recalls that the young master ordered the attack on their caravan and wonders why no one is there to greet them. He worries when he realizes the scout he sent ahead hasn't returned, fearing something is wrong inside the manor. He pounds on the large wooden door, shouting for someone to open it. He loudly announces his return. Do Shimge and the Western Region Caravan, back after 4 years. Sword God Dragon. A funeral altar is shown, confirming the death of the Blue Heaven Merchant Group's caravan leader. The man in white formally allows them inside out of respect, but instructs them to leave immediately after paying their respects. He then requests that their menacing companions stay out of sight, as their presence is disrupting the somber atmosphere. The man in white notices a new face among the group and asks for his name. He introduces himself as Hong Hak, the current Grand Steward of the manor. Du Shimge expresses his disbelief, recalling the leader was healthy. But another man pragmatically notes that 4 years is a long time for an old man. Hong Hak explains that the leader's chronic illness worsened 4 months ago, and he passed away from a fever 5 days prior. He adds that the leader desperately searched for Great Journey Leader Du until his very last moment, deeply shaking Du Shimge. Du Shimge grieves, questioning what happened in his absence to cause such a futile end. He forces himself to stop grieving, observing the unfamiliar faces that now fill the manor. A young girl named Sojin announces she has to go, prompting another child to call out and ask where she's going. A saintess's duty is explained as young Sojin stumbles in a grand hall. A concerned young boy calls out, asking Sojin where she is going. Suddenly, the white-haired man grabs Sojin's head, startling her. Sojin cries out in pain, asking what her great-grandpa is doing, as he inwardly realizes he almost activated his fiery eyes of truth. He understands that her grandfather planted innate, true chi in her body to protect her. An older man with a mustache worries that if her power is revealed, he must bury it deeper to prevent it from breaking. The white-haired man smiles, asking Sojin if he woke her from her dozing. Rubbing her eyes, Sojin confirms he did and begins to ask him something. Elsewhere, a man with a topknot worries that Du Shimge is not in his right mind. He thinks the other men are itching for something to do but decides it's none of his business. Another man wonders about the Kunlun group's behavior, also concluding it's not his concern. The group feels unwelcome by the owner of the manor. A man plans to wait until their allies realize there's no profit with Do Shimge, expecting them to leverage his weakness for a separate deal. He confirms his plan to secure a deal with the Hyunju and handle Do Shimge separately. He calls out to the Grand Steward, who responds attentively. The man praises the Grand Steward's idea and agrees to wait. The Grand Steward observes the unfamiliar faces, noting the absence of the 3 young masters and realizing the situation is different from the Blue Heaven merchant group he knew. Whispering, a man reveals he was told the great young master brought in all these new people after the caravan leader collapsed, and he took power. The Grand Steward wonders if it's a coincidence that this happened 4 months ago, right when Mad Typhoon Sand attacked. He turns away, murmuring the title, Great Young Master. He demands to see the Great Young Master, but a guard explains that he is now the master of the Blue Heaven merchant group and has instructed them to refuse all external visitors. The guard orders him to finish his business and leave, but the Grand Steward struggles, pleading to speak with the master for just a moment. He clutches a medicine vial, thinking that he has powerful backers and that this medicine helped him feign his father's illness to usurp his brothers. A man with dark hair smirks, recalling how he donated money to the Poison King, allied with the new Myriad Poison Clan's sect leader, and now has the entire Blue Heaven merchant group in his hands. The Great Young Master turns his attention to the Grand Steward. He asks if the Hyunju has been found yet, but the Grand Steward reports they've searched the luggage, and it isn't there. The infuriated Great Young Master strikes the Grand Steward. The steward nervously suggests they wait for an opportunity, thinking they are just ignorant bandits who only care about money. The white-haired man walks away, finding the situation displeasing. The new caravan leader of the Blue Heaven merchant group, Jin Sil-hwan, asks if Do Shimge and his group are still held up in the manor. His subordinate explains they tried to get rid of them but are wary of the people behind them, the black turban thieves. Jin Sil-hwan seethes, angry that the evil dark divine typhoon he sent to catch bugs sided with Du Shimge, complicating everything. He recounts how his father's hurried betrayal forced his hand, making him kick out the great journey leaders and merchants who were doing well, though he planned to get rid of them anyway. A man tells a group of elders that the Blue Heaven merchant group has changed, and one of them apologizes. A younger man outlines his plan to find the 3 young masters and gather the scattered caravan members, who reportedly fled the Great Young Master's usurpation. He notes that the Great Young Master sent people to chase them, and the former caravan leader's death is suspicious, implying the new master was involved. The white-haired man smirks, realizing he can use the younger man as a focal point to rally others against the Great Young Master. A heavyset man clenches his fist in determination, A man with stubble declares that they crossed the line first, vowing to use every means to take everything from them. The white-haired man is questioned on his plan, but he confidently states he has a way because the elder is with him. The younger man demands to know why he's being brought into this, but the white-haired man reminds him of his investment, saying he must take responsibility until the investment is recovered. The white-haired man muses that a merchant must sometimes be shameless, finding the situation troublesome. He decides to see how things play out, unleashing a powerful wave of energy. Cough! A man is violently pulled from a building by an unseen force. He panics, wondering how he was dragged from the inner courtyard all the way out here. The man struggles against the white-haired man's grip, demanding to be put down. The white-haired man grins, mockingly asking, "What am I doing?" He laughs maniacally as he tightens his grip. Blood splatters violently across the screen. With a bloodstain on his cheek, the white-haired man stands over the scene as others watch in shock. A blood-splattered, white-haired man extends his stained hand forward. Inside the hall, a crowd erupts in chaos, with one man demanding to know what is happening. The crowd panics, shouting "murder!" while accusing the man of attacking the caravan leader and demanding he be subdued. The red-bearded monk and his companions watch in confusion, wondering why their elder is suddenly acting this way. The white-haired master turns to the stunned onlookers, asking if they intend to just stand by. He smirks, covered in blood, and taunts them by asking if they aren't going to take over. The master gives his followers their orders. He asks if they can't handle these men without using internal energy, shocking them. When they ask if he wants them to cause chaos, he confirms they're experts at it, but warns them not to kill anyone. A follower rallies the men, relaying the elder's command to subdue everyone without killing them. A bald monk leads the charge, shouting for his comrades not to let a single person escape. A man in mourning clothes panics, ordering his men to stop them, but his subordinate apologizes for being unarmed at a funeral and runs to get his weapon. The man in charge shouts for everyone to stop the black turban thieves as a massive brawl breaks out in the manor. Half an hour later, all the manor staff are kneeling in defeat as a man reports their capture. The master smiles, asking Dushimge if this is a sufficient outcome, and a nervous Dushimge quickly agrees. Dushimge reflects that killing the great young master would normally have taken at least a year. He muses that it was only possible in half an hour because of the elder, who denies being scared and critiques his subordinate's fighting style to Sojin. The master looms over the bound Grand Steward, confirming his name is Hong Hak. Hong Hak begs for his life, but the man with the fan calmly tells him there's no need for such pleading. The man with the fan whispers that there is one way for Hong Hak to escape safely, and the steward desperately asks what it is. Elsewhere, a man is shocked to hear a report that the Black Turban thieves have taken over the Blue Heaven merchant group after an incident. He seethes with rage, remembering they made an agreement with the thieves just days ago, only for them to break it by attacking the manor. An elder official forbids the news from spreading, worried his father will be furious, and orders a secret investigation into countermeasures. The angry man vows to punish the Black Turban thieves for ignoring the Myriad Poison clan and use it to establish his own dignity as the next clan leader. A man in a green robe finds the white-haired man among the thieves suspicious, noting his unique internal energy, and wonders if he's from the imperial family. He realizes that if the man is royalty, it could ruin his father's birthday celebration, and concludes that he must be killed. A promotional image and title card for the series. A crowd of people stand outside the manor, looking up at the sky in unison. The funeral of the former caravan leader, Jin Seonryong, begins with men carrying a ceremonial dragon. The once modest funeral is now being transformed into a grand festival for all to see. The master, Sojin, and their companions arrive at the entrance to a guarded estate. In a bustling inn, a storyteller recounts how Dushimge and the Black Turban thieves resolved the fratricide within the Blue Heaven merchant group. Dushimge is shown taking charge, giving instructions to the staff and caravan members to restore order. He resolves to uncover everything that happened during his 4-year absence, anticipating an official summons. Du Shimge issues orders for journey leaders, escorts, and porters to compile reports and establish communications. His final, most urgent command is to find all scattered staff and the 3 missing young masters. Having explained the dire situation, Do Shimge calmly holds his written orders. While eating, the master chides Do Shimge for reporting to him when he seems to be handling things just fine on his own. Du Shimge reminds the master that as the major shareholder, he needs to be kept informed, but the master suspects it's just an excuse to keep him involved. The master sighs about the trouble he's in, reminds Sojin to eat properly, and asks for an update on the investigation into why the great young master sought the Hyunju. Du Shimge reports that the great young master was dealing with unknown people who coveted the Hyunju and were likely behind the caravan takeover. The master recalls a promise he made to find the scattered families of the Flying Tiger Escort Agency and the person responsible for its destruction. A man rushes in to announce that journey leader Choi has returned with his staff, news that startles Do Shimge. An old man with a cane, journey leader Choi, stands at the gate with his followers and asks if it is truly Du Shimge. The 2 men embrace in a tearful reunion, overjoyed that the rumors of Do Shimge's return were true. Journey leader Choi invites him inside to catch up after such a long and difficult time apart. Choi suddenly stops, realizing he has been thoughtless, which confuses Do Shimge. He steps aside, insisting there is someone else Du Shimge must greet first. A heavy-set young man steps forward, greeting Do Shimge after a long absence, leaving him speechless. The young man is identified as Jin Du-seong, the 2nd young master, who praises Do Shimge for his unwavering care for the caravan. Journey leader Choi reflects on the political situation, noting that just as he supports the 3rd young master, others support the 2nd. With 5 children left behind by the former leader and the great young master dead, the succession dispute is far from over. The 2nd young master condescendingly praises their hard work and notes his own timely return. A man thinks to himself that the 2nd young master, despite his skills, is arrogant and greedy, already acting like the new owner. Clenching his fist, journey leader Choi resolves that he cannot entrust the caravan to someone like him. The scene shifts to a lively, lantern-lit night market filled with bustling crowds and vendors. A vendor enthusiastically offers the white-haired master a regional specialty, but he looks unimpressed. The master asks the red-bearded monk if he is sure this is the correct way, and the monk confirms it. He remains skeptical, wondering why the house sect would be located in such a crowded area. A narrator explains that the house sect, a haven for underworld criminals, typically operates from secluded locations to avoid attention. Following the monk through the crowd, the master grows suspicious of the path they're taking. A man with a large sword explains that the crowd is unusually large for the Poison King's 60th birthday celebration. The master angrily grabs the monk's hood, demanding to know why they are in a crowded street, while the monk insists it is the right way. A man with a sword on his back interrupts, questioning why the master is being so harsh with his companion. The man scolds the master for his poor attitude towards his elderly servant. The man introduces himself as Nangong Hwan, but the master retorts that Nangong is the one being noisy and that he's older anyway. The master sizes up Nangong Hwan, sensing a suppressed imperial aura emanating from him. He realizes his opponent must be from the prestigious Nangong family. The Nangong family is introduced as the Righteous Sword Clan, a dominant power led by a supreme martial artist. Observing Nangong's companions, the master deduces they are all from powerful families, likely attending the birthday celebration. A woman steps forward, and one of Nangong Hwan's companions recognizes her with a start. The man realizes she was with the young master during their agreement with the Black Turban Thieves. He wonders in shock if Nangong is traveling with the thieves and why the woman is smiling. The woman cheerfully greets Nangong Hwan, calling their meeting fate, but he seems to think she has the wrong person. The master tries to leave, claiming they are in a hurry, but the woman tells him to stop. A red-haired man blocks the master's path, stating that his companions are not finished with him yet. He introduces himself as Hwangbo Jingwang, the Thunderclap Iron Fist. Hwangbo Jingwang sizes up the master, thinking he looks like a playboy and deciding to teach him a lesson for trying to leave. Hwangbo invites the master to talk since they've met, but the master curtly reminds him that he's busy. Growing impatient, the master glares at Huangbo and tells him to get out of the way. The master taunts Huangbo, accusing him of trying to impress the woman, which causes Huangbo to become flustered. The master coldly states he has no interest in the woman, and she has no interest in Huangbo either, causing her to blush. With a sharp glare, the master again tells Huangbo to move, insisting he is very busy. Trembling with rage, Huangbo Jingwang struggles to find his words. Huangbo threatens to fight, but the master calmly calls for someone named Typhoon. A bald monk instantly appears, shouting that he was waiting, and lands a devastating punch on Huangbo's face. A burst of dark, chaotic energy fills the air following the strike. Surrounded by black smoke, the red-bearded monk Typhoon grabs Huangbo's attacking arm. Typhoon effortlessly twists Huangbo's arm, causing him to cry out in pain. Typhoon mockingly calls Huangbo a pig-like brat for daring to challenge them. Nangong Huan recognizes the dark smoke technique and identifies the monk as the evil dark divine Typhoon. Typhoon threatens the group, warning them not to move if they want Huangbo to live, as the woman apologizes for their rudeness. The woman glances at the crowd, remarking that causing a disturbance in a public street is unwise. She reminds the master of the agreement between their sect and the Black Turban Thieves, asking if he means to break it. In a quiet room, a man with long, dark hair sits contemplating a folded white cloth. An older man tells a younger man named Youngdo that he held back because of the sword Calamity, but reminds him they are from Kunlun. Youngdo clutches a white cloth, admitting his senior uncle is right, but expressing his own conflicting desires. Overwhelmed with uncertainty, he confesses that he doesn't know what to do. Turning away, Youngdo says he understands, his thoughts on the Kunlun Taoist robe he always wears. He turns around, his back still to the viewer. A sinister, white-haired man gives a chilling smile, his identity a mystery. The woman in green tells the master his grandfather wouldn't allow him to fight her. She's shocked, wondering how this strange man could possibly know her grandfather. Typhoon sneers that he wants to rip out Huangbo's arm and one of his eyeballs. The white-haired master gives a slight, approving nod. With a thud, Typhoon releases Huangbo Jingwang, who crumples to the ground. As Huangbo's companions rush to his side, Typhoon declares he'll let the matter rest for now, citing their recent agreement. The woman from the Myriad Poison clan anxiously calls out to her young master, telling him to wait. She looks on with a deeply worried expression. Later, as they walk, the red-bearded monk asks the master if he will be all right. He explains that by attacking Huangbo Jingwang, the master has provoked both the Myriad Poison clan and the powerful overlord's castle. The master smirks, noting the conflict might even cause trouble for the Wudang sect, much to the monk's confusion. He laughs, reminding the monk that his affiliation is with the Black Turban Thieves, so any trouble is their problem. The monk is horrified, realizing the master is openly planning to use the Black Turban Thieves as a shield. Unconcerned, the master welcomes any challengers, asking if he has ever backed down from a fight, leaving the monk speechless. After hours of walking, the master angrily grabs the monk, threatening him for getting them lost. He stops short, surprised by the sight before him. They stand before a large, ornate building. The monk explains that according to Doshimge, this is their destination, a Siowan, a Confucian academy. The master is incredulous, thinking the world must be ending if the house sect is hiding in a scholarly academy. A narrator describes a Siowan as a hallowed place for scholars aspiring to join the government. He can't believe such a respected institution has become a den for criminals. The master muses that, unlike in Urumqi, he can't just blow this building up. A man in formal robes greets them, saying they were expected. With a polite bow, the man offers to guide them inside. He leads the master and Typhoon through the serene and orderly courtyard. The master is surprised, having assumed the respectable facade was only for the exterior. He realizes they are legitimately operating as a Seoan. He understands the brilliant strategy. They can launder money and disguise their identities while avoiding government suspicion. Unlike Urumqi, he concludes, their operations here can proceed without issue. A butterfly drifts peacefully over the sun-drenched rooftops of the academy. The scene transitions deeper into the academy's grounds. Inside a chamber, a voice announces that they have been waiting for him. A distinguished man formally greets the master, having anticipated his arrival in Chengdu, and addresses him as the Prince of Qin. The scene shifts to the lively Huayou Inn, where a man with purple hair sits at a table while others call for more drinks. A little girl happily nibbles on a large steamed bun. The purple-haired man asks the little girl if her food is tasty, and she eagerly confirms it is. He then asks the boy, Hyunho, who shyly agrees that the food is delicious. The purple-haired man's attention is drawn to something, and he quietly wonders if Do Shimge has taken over this inn. He looks on with a thoughtful and slightly concerned expression as the children eat. A loud man storms over to their table, shouting at the beggar bastards for being noisy. It's young Master Wangbo, who scoffs at being reprimanded, seeing nothing wrong with his insult. A waiter attempts to apologize for the crowded inn, but Wangbo rudely cuts him off. He furiously grabs the waiter, demanding to know if he expects them to share a table with beggars. Nanggong Huan looks annoyed, while their companion, So Qian, finds the commotion amusing and wants to watch. A gray-haired woman scolds So Qian, but he defends himself, saying it's fun because he knows why Huangbo is so angry. He explains that Huangbo is lashing out after being humiliated by Miss Tang, who stormed off in anger. The woman smirks, realizing he's just taking out his frustration on an innocent stranger and calling him consistently stupid. Huangbo cedes, convinced that everyone is looking down on him since his defeat at the hands of the bandits. A narrative panel introduces the 10 Great Martial Dragons, a group of elite young rivals, including Huangbo and his companions, all vying for power. Determined not to be seen as a pushover, Huangbo violently shakes the terrified waiter and demands he speak. As his companions try to hold him back, a voice from off-screen urges young Master Huangbo to stop. A man in white robes advises Huangbo that it would be better for him to stop right there. Nanggong Huan breaks into a cold sweat, recognizing the man's powerful aura as belonging to someone from Kunlun. The man from Kunlun, Youngdo, stands with a confident, knowing smile. Youngdo calmly repeats his warning, telling the enraged Huangbo that he should stop. With an imposing presence, Youngdo stands firm, a slight smirk on his face. A flashback reveals his identity, Youngdo the half-sword invincible, who once defeated the mighty Dae Ixan. Youngdo addresses the group, acknowledging their refined Taoist energy and assuming they are from a noble family. With a condescending smile, he adds that unfortunately, their dignity doesn't seem to measure up. Huangbo shouts in outrage, while Nanggong Huan realizes with a start that the man's words are true. Nanggong reflects on his own hypocritical actions in the marketplace, recalling the sight of 2 robed figures. Huangbo scoffs at the lecture on dignity, accusing the esteemed Kunlun sect of associating with bandits. The purple-haired man, watching from his table, wonders why he was warned about this man and how the once mysterious Kunlun sect has fallen so low, calling him a bastard. As the purple-haired man looks on, Youngdo calmly states that he can tolerate personal insults. But drawing his sword slightly, he declares that he cannot overlook insults directed at his sect. Stepping forward, the little girl begins to quote the philosopher Confucius. Of all people, girls and women are the most difficult to deal with. If you let them get too close, they lose their reserve, and if you keep them at a distance, they complain of resentment. A baffled Huangbo asks what she's babbling about, as Youngdo tells the young lady to stay back. The girl calls Huangbo a petty person with poor learning skills and offers to repeat her lesson. She quotes Confucius again, stating that petty people who belittle others should be kept at a distance. Pointing accusingly, she concludes by telling him to leave immediately. He. Nanggong Huan stifles a laugh as Huangbo stares in stunned silence. Seething with rage, Huangbo thinks of the humiliation he suffered from bandits, a waiter, and now a mere little girl. Crackling with energy, Huangbo looms over the child, questioning how she dares lecture him as she begins another quote. The little girl explains that one must align with heaven's will to receive blessings, a trait he clearly lacks. She predicts that he will suffer misfortune, causing Huangbo to snap and lunge at the insolent girl. The little girl is sent flying backward from the force of his impending strike. Nang Gonghuan shouts in alarm, horrified by the brutal killing intent aimed at a child. As the girl looks on in fear, the boy Hyunho screams "No!" and reaches out desperately. An orange-haired man leaps between Huangbo and the children, vowing to protect them. Bang! The powerful attack connects and Nang Gonghuan looks on with a stunned expression. Young Do and the purple-haired man watch in shock as the devastating blow is stopped. An old man effortlessly blocks Huangbo's punch with his cane as Hyunho cries out, "Grandpa?" In a quiet room, the man from the academy introduces himself to the white-haired master as Zhou Jungyong, the Sichuan branch leader. The master smirks, noting that since the branch leader called him Prince of Qin, he must already know his true identity. Zhou Jungyong explains he was part of Prince Yang's faction and saw the master at the palace, prompting the master to confirm his affiliation. The branch leader wistfully replies that his time with the faction is long past. He offers to address the master by his current moniker, Sword Immortal, and asks what he wants. The master leans forward with a grin, stating that the branch leader obviously knows why he's there. Zhou Jungyong knowingly agrees as a servant approaches with a tray. The servant presents a dagger on a tray, explaining that they suffered many casualties while retrieving the requested items. The master picks up the dagger, pondering the word casualties, and connecting it to the recent events in Urumqi. He reveals he deliberately used the Urumqi branch as bait for assassins from Hui, though he underestimated their ferocity. The branch leader says they barely finished the job thanks to last-minute information, leading the master to ask if they found the dagger's owner. The man confirms the owner is named Chong Il-guan, a name he admits he has never heard before. He explains that Chong Il-guan rose to fame during the Sword Immortal's absence from the martial world. He reveals Chong Il-guan is the lord of a place called Chonggajang and the father-in-law of the myriad poison clan's young master, shocking the white-haired master. The master sighs at their poor judgment and asks if this man will be at the upcoming 60th birthday celebration, which the branch leader confirms is likely. The master realizes he'll likely run into the woman from the myriad poison clan, and resolves to deal with Hui's stooge, now that he knows they're connected to the clan. He decides he must attend the celebration, even by faking an invitation, and then thanks the branch leader before asking the price for his services. The master clenches a piece of cloth, saying he has one more question. He asks Zhou Jungyong what he knows about the Flying Tiger escort agency incident from last year. The branch leader explains that since it was a major event that shook Yunnan, they kept a close eye on it but couldn't investigate deeply. He reveals that the agency was the hidden birthplace of Doma, the second of the 7 demonic stars and the vice cult leader of the Heaven Enlightenment cult. A narration explains that despite his reputation, not much was known about Doma publicly. He began as a nameless rogue, a self-made man who rose from the bottom. His past was a mystery, but he was known for slaughtering countless people with ruthless hands whenever he clashed with the Jianghu. The master smirks, impressed they could find information on the reclusive Doma, and the branch leader agrees that if they know about him, they likely know most of the story. Zhou Jungyong looks flustered, confused by the master's line of questioning. The master asks if they know the identities of those who attacked the escort agency in the desert, and the branch leader confidently confirms they do. Zhou Jungyong expresses his confusion, stating he thought the Sword Immortal already knew and was traveling with them, which puzzles the master. The branch leader reveals the man's identity, the leader of the Snowy Mountain stronghold, the Killian Fisherman Elder, shocking the master. A promotional image for this series is shown. The master reacts with disbelief, as Zhou Jungyong explains he thought the Sword Immortal had already taken the Elder under his wing. A man bursts through the door, shouting an emergency warning for branch leader Zhang. He frantically reports that the Myriad Poison Clan seems to be starting a war with the Black Turban Thieves. The master violently grabs the messenger by the collar, demanding a quick and detailed explanation. The man explains that the Black Turban Thieves clashed with Thunderclap Iron Fist at an inn, and the Myriad Poison Clan's Black Dog Squad was dispatched. When he reports that all the black turban thieves, including the children, were detained, the master reacts in shock. A menacing grin spreads across the master's face. Whoosh! The master vanishes, and the branch leader remarks that after 30 years, the sword Calamity's temper hasn't mellowed at all. Jo Jung-young muses that the master has always been consistent, which he finds fortunate. Asked why, he explains that if the master's temperament had changed, it would take significant resources to understand him again. He concludes that while disasters are unpredictable, he can at least make minimal preparations. An unseen person asks if the elder thinks now is the time for those preparations. The speaker is revealed to be Kwon Hyun, the current leader of the house sect. She finds the situation truly fortunate, and her companion asks what she means. A voiceover notes that the great sword Calamity couldn't read her, a testament to her skill, while she inwardly questions this assessment. In a flashback, the master urgently tells Typhoon to pack his things for the 60th birthday celebration. He adds a chilling warning for Typhoon to be careful where he uses his love charm technique, or he will lose his head. Kwon Hyun smirks, confident that with the master's power, they can finally confront the shadow of Hui. Looking out a window at the red glow of evening, she hopes there won't be much bloodshed at the banquet. Back at the inn, the purple-haired man rushes to the children, asking if they are okay. Checking them over, he asks if they are hurt anywhere, and the boy, Hyunho, reassures him they are fine. The old man angrily questions how the orange-haired man dared to try and lay a hand on his grandson. The elder sits with an intimidating presence, ready for a confrontation. He seethes with rage, furious that the youngest son of the Thunderclap Iron Fist dared to attack. The purple-haired man and a woman gather the children, with the woman scolding Hyunho for stepping forward and risking his safety. The purple-haired man asks Elder Killian Fisherman about his internal energy, suspecting he unsealed his innate energy and noting the work of the sword Calamity. He realizes that using innate energy at the elder's age is suicide, as the old man erupts with purple power. The orange-haired man looks on in disbelief, realizing his thunderclap energy was deflected by an old fishing rod. Nang Gong-wan recognizes the elder's unique traits, confirming his identity as a legendary master. He groans in despair, having just escaped one powerful figure only to run into the legendary Killian Fisherman Elder. So Ichian suggests they try to appease the elder's anger since Huangbo was clearly in the wrong. The gray-haired woman scoffs at the idea, stating she has no confidence in succeeding and no loyalty to even try. She points out that this is a golden opportunity to weaken their lord's power, and asks if they really want to waste it. So Ichian agrees with her, leaving Nangong Hwan aghast at their heartless discussion. The man from Kunlun tells Nangong to listen to Ms. Juge and make a calm judgment instead of acting rashly. So Qian contemplates sacrificing young Master Huang Bo, and Nangong Hwan is horrified by his companion's cruelty. A terrified Huang Bo tells the advancing elder to stay back, as the old man spares his life out of respect for the divine Condor Overlord, but promises retribution for harming his grandson. Huang Bo recoils in shock as the elder demands his right arm as penance. Enraged by the insult, Huang Bo leaps forward to attack the mere bandit. He unleashes his ultimate technique, Thunderclap Annihilation, vowing to kill them all. The elder calmly welcomes the attack, noting it makes his job easier. With a simple flick of his fishing rod, the elder intercepts the powerful blow. Making good on his promise, the elder swiftly severs Huangbo's entire arm. Huangbo lets out a blood-curdling scream of pure agony. He stares in horror and disbelief at his detached arm lying on the floor. His shock turns to a desperate wail as he cradles the bloody stump. The elder delivers another punishing blow, admonishing him for picking the wrong fight. As Huangbo is sent flying, the elder roars about the arrogance of bullying his people, while Huangbo's companions cry out his name in shock. So Wei-cheon steps in, warning the elder to stand down as his powerful senior brother is now enraged. Nangong Hwan adds a grave warning that further interference will ignite a war. Recognizing his opponents are powerful figures, the elder realizes he cannot afford to be reckless. The blood-splattered elder towers over Huangbo, coldly stating that it isn't over yet. Terrified, Huangbo realizes he has foolishly attacked a legendary demon from the Jianghu. The elder laments that force became necessary only because his polite words were ignored. A small, gentle hand suddenly grabs the elder's blood-soaked sleeve. The little girl looks up at him, pleading with him not to be so angry. Looking him straight in the eyes, she firmly tells him, "That's enough." She repeats her calm but firm request for him to end his violent rage. The elder is struck by her unique combination of childish innocence and a monarch's resolve. He muses that he now understands why his grandson fell for her, as Huno watches with concern. Nangang Huan checks on the unconscious Huangbo, determining that he will survive if treated. He holds his fallen comrade, grimly accepting that while Huangbo will live, that is all he can hope for. The elder walks away, advising them to learn how to better judge people from this incident. Nangang Huan confirms to his companions that while Huangbo is alive, his life as a martial artist is over. Miss Sug sighs, worrying that with the king's 60th birthday so close, this incident won't be overlooked. She considers the inevitable wrath of the overlord's castle, but resolves that they must stay out of it. Her thoughts are cut short, as she suddenly senses a powerful, imposing presence approaching. A uniformed squadron appears, ordering the black turban thieves to come out and surrender. So Hui-Qian appears at the inn's entrance, gravely informing Miss Zhuge that things have gotten out of hand. He reveals the identity of the arriving force, the dreaded Black Dog Squad. A narration confirms the Myriad Poison Clan strike force has arrived to investigate the disturbance. Miss Zhuge curses under her breath, realizing someone must have reported the commotion. As Nangang Huan prepares to leave with Huangbo, she reminds him that they are the cause of the very commotion they are fleeing. So Hui-Qian tells a confused Nangang Huan to wake up and face the reality of their situation. Nangang Huan argues they can't be seen with bandits, as it would tarnish the name of the 5 great families. Ignoring the warning, he urges his companions to grab Huangbo and leave immediately. A man with a long ponytail suddenly grabs Nangang Huan, blocking his exit. Identifying Nangang as a member of the Kunlun sect, the man surprisingly tells him he is free to go. Nangang Huan sweats profusely, stunned into silence as the mysterious man walks away. The purple-haired man orders his comrades to escape with the children, intending to stay and fight alone. The elder steps forward, insisting that since he escalated the conflict, he must be the one to handle it. A bald comrade furiously refuses to abandon them and run away. The man with the ponytail, Black Hawk, agrees they should stay, much to the elder's surprise. Black Hawk simply says no, confirming he will not flee. He proposes they surrender first instead of fighting, causing the elder to mutter Kunlun in recognition. The children watch nervously, with Huno thinking that more conflict would be too dangerous. When a comrade questions surrendering, Blackhawk swears on the honor of Kunlun to ensure their safe escape. Blackhawk explains he wants to prevent a war between the Myriad Poison Clan and the Black Turban Thieves, shocking his companions. The masked elder furiously grabs him, shouting that he forbid him from getting involved with the Black Turban Thieves again. Blackhawk gently takes his hand, apologizing but declaring he is going with them, much to the elder's shock. He respectfully tells his senior uncle that while he understands, he has a duty to uphold as a representative of Kunlun. He continues, explaining that his masters taught him there is a mindset more important than simply wielding a sword. With intense focus, he declares that this higher calling is chivalry. As the masked elder listens intently, Blackhawk speaks of the path of chivalry he has always contemplated. He whirls around, proclaiming that this is his path, and apologizes once more to his stunned senior uncle. The purple-haired woman nervously grabs her companion's arm as they watch the tense exchange. Blackhawk turns to the purple-haired woman, addressing her as junior sister. The purple-haired man from the inn is surprised to be receiving help from Kunlun, musing that one sees many things if they live long enough. The Kilian fisherman elder stands ready, extending a welcoming hand to his new allies. Elsewhere, a man with long brown hair is hailed as the new sect leader, though he humbly deflects the title while another man laughs beside him. Overlooking a grand hall teeming with guests, the man smirks, thinking he has waited 30 long years for this moment. The crowd is filled with the most powerful figures in the region, sect leaders from Sichuan and messengers from the 10 Pillars of Murim. Renowned scholars and masters from all across the Jianghu have gathered for the momentous occasion. The man trembles with anticipation, realizing that once he inherits the sect leader position, one of the great pillars of Jianghu will be his. An elder with long white hair approaches, proudly addressing the man as his son-in-law. The son-in-law warmly greets his father-in-law, identified as Cheong Ruowan, the lord of Cheonggaijiang. Haha! The son-in-law flatters Cheong Ruowan, asking what he eats to stay so healthy and young. Cheong Ruowan promises to tell him later, then casually asks if his esteemed in-law, the man's father, has arrived yet. The son-in-law explains his father is unpredictable, adding that he heard the man emptied several bottles of alcohol the previous night. Cheong Ruowan cheerfully suggests they share a drink sometime, and his son-in-law readily agrees. The son-in-law internally reflects that his own father dislikes his father-in-law and is a harsh man who does not like people in general. He gratefully thinks that Cheong Ruowan, on the other hand, has been more of a father to him and was a great help in attaining his current position. Cheong Ruowan pats his son-in-law's arm, telling him he looks forward to their future together. A subordinate rushes in, reporting to the young master that the Black Dog Squad has arrived and detained the Black Turban thieves. When his father-in-law asks what's happening, the young master laughs it off, claiming the famous thieves got on his nerves and were captured for their foolishness. Cheong Ruowan falls silent, a thoughtful, calculating look crossing his face. He tells his son-in-law that this will remove a thorn from his side, and more importantly, that today he will finally become sect leader. The young master beams with joy, agreeing it is a happy day as he prepares to inherit his father's position as the Poison King. An attendant announces the sect leader's entrance, and both men turn to watch. An imposing man with long white hair makes his grand entrance, heralded as the ruler of Sichuan and the king of poison techniques, the Poison King. The lavish birthday celebration is in full swing, with musicians playing as the Poison King calmly pours himself a drink. Sitting alone on a balcony, Typhoon quietly observes the Poison King's 60th birthday celebration. He looks over the extravagant party below with a detached expression. He reflects that while he once desperately craved this recognition, it all seems meaningless now. He recalls the recent past when he joined the Black Turban Thieves and they attempted to surrender to the Black Dog Squad. He remembers that the squad, not wanting a conflict right before the banquet, had accepted their surrender. The narration explains that the Black Turban Thieves, except for the Kunlun members, were temporarily imprisoned in a detached house of the Myriad Poison clan. Typhoon thinks of Manhwa, who chose to be imprisoned alongside the children, and how he was unable to sway her decision. Clenching his fist, he resolves to free his comrades and the children after the banquet, a promise he made on his honor and Kunlun's. He gets up, preparing to move through the crowded banquet hall. A voice from behind observes that the bustling party doesn't seem to suit him. Nangong Huan, holding a flask, introduces himself and asks if he may join Typhoon. As Typhoon silently agrees, Nangong Huan takes a deep swig from his flask, already looking intoxicated. Blushing, he apologizes for the disturbance at the inn, which led to the capture of Typhoon's comrades, and offers his help. Staring at his reflection in his cup, Nangong Huan bitterly muses that he thought his companions were precious comrades who felt the same way. He now realizes they prioritized their own interests and were always ready to betray him. He raises his cup to Typhoon, offering a drink and adding, "Me too," implying he also understands the sting of false comradeship. Typhoon smirks as a single drop falls into his cup, thinking, "Oh dear." Nangong Huan cheerfully explains the flask is empty and offers to get another, while Typhoon politely apologizes for the trouble. The Poison King formally addresses the banquet, welcoming his distinguished guests. Watching from a balcony, Typhoon recognizes the Poison King is using the formidable 6-direction transmit skill. He reflects that after encountering someone who uses Heguangsim EO, the skill seems far less impressive. The Poison King announces that after 30 long years, he has decided to finally step down. The young master reacts in shock, thinking his father is making the succession announcement much sooner than expected. A greedy smirk crosses his face as he realizes his dream of becoming sect leader is finally coming true. He beams with triumphant anticipation, savoring his long-awaited moment of victory. As the crowd murmurs, a guest realizes the succession is being given to the residual blood poison flower. The young master trembles in shock, desperately crying out to his father and questioning his own fate. He rushes to confront his father, asking if he misspoke and meant to name him as successor. The Poison King turns with a cold expression, scornfully repeating the word, "Mistake?" As the successor watches silently, the Poison King asks if his son has ever seen him make a mistake, forcing the young master to realize his father is serious. Utterly bewildered, the young master can only stand there and wonder why this is happening. He frantically searches his memory, desperately trying to figure out what he did wrong. Suddenly, a powerful crash echoes through the grand hall, interrupting the tense moment. The Poison King turns calmly toward the disturbance, his expression one of pure annoyance. He unleashes a powerful wave of green energy, responding to the interruption with force. Instantly clearing the wreckage, he demands to know the cause of the commotion as his men stare in awe. A guard reports that a stranger has broken in and is wreaking havoc within the clan's territory. As the white-haired intruder unleashes a massive energy blast, guards shout orders to protect their leader, while a skeletal elder remarks on the spectacular entrance. Two mysterious figures stand in the aftermath, with one calmly remarking that the display has been enough. More intruders are identified, the Thunder Dragon Ghost and Deng Jeoksana, as a voice wonders who invited them. Deng Jeoksan lunges at the white-haired man, furiously demanding to know who dares cause a disturbance. The white-haired intruder effortlessly repels the attack with a brilliant flash of crackling energy. His defeated opponents are left sprawled unconscious on the shattered ground. The skeletal elder identifies the intruder as Typhoon, prompting the enraged, red-eyed Poison King to give a single order: "Find Sojin." The young master stands amidst the rubble, wondering how his carefully prepared illusion and poison formations were breached. He realizes in horror that his defenses must have been destroyed in an instant, thinking it impossible. Clutching his head, he despairs that his perfect day of succession has been completely ruined by the chaos. The Poison King appears behind him, grabbing his head and coldly calling him a fool. Looking up in fear and confusion, the young master stammers his father's name. The Poison King reveals his reason, stating, "That's why I didn't choose you as the next sect leader." He explains that he placed his son in the position of young master because he had ample opportunity to kill his rivals, but lacked the ruthlessness to do so. His son protests, claiming he never considered such a thing, but the Poison King dismisses it as his own miscalculation. "Stop!" the Poison King roars, furious that his son dares to ruin his birthday party. The young master nervously denies causing the destruction, but his father's rage is uncontrollable as he laments the ruined pavilions and treasures. He furiously declares that his son should have prevented the intruder from entering, vowing that no one will ruin his party. His eyes burn with rage as he screams that the myriad Poison Clan should have instilled enough fear into Jianghu to prevent this dishonor. This failure, he concludes, is exactly why he did not choose his son as the next leader. The Poison King tells his kneeling son to step aside and assist his wise daughter, prompting the crushed man to ask, "Am I really your son?" Dismissing his son, the Poison King declares he will personally handle the intruder, vowing that no one will block his granddaughter's path. Turning to the courtyard, he summons his elite guard, the 8 protectors of the king. 8 masked warriors appear instantly in formation, awaiting his command. He orders his elite guards, the masters of the clan, to capture the monkey who ruined his birthday. He adds a final, specific instruction: capture the intruder alive, as he needs to see his face. The protectors immediately leap into action, moving as one across the rooftops. Spotting their target below, the leader shouts for his men to draw their weapons and surround him. They descend upon Typhoon, who stands waiting for them, as a protector declares, "There he is." The white-haired man identifies the killing weapons of Haitian, wondering how so many survived. The elder trembles with rage, furiously asking how a kid dares to mention his name. In a flash, the white-haired man strikes the elder, who shouts that he's rude. He notes the annoying poison fog but seems unfazed. Swish! He deflects a blow, asking if they don't know who he is. He gathers crackling thunder energy, warning them that ignorance means death. The elder recognizes the thunder power and screams for his men to scatter. As his men leap away, the white-haired man unleashes a powerful blast of energy. The elder grimly realizes his opponent is no ordinary person, using a tactic of overwhelming power in a single strike. He plans his counterattack, intending to strike at the opening created after the man's energy-consuming move is unleashed. Two of the elder's men charge forward to attack. A massive wave of crackling purple and blue energy erupts from the white-haired man. He looks on with a slightly surprised expression. He realizes the poison fog has obscured his vision. Sharp purple projectiles slice through the air. A voice shouts, "Charge!" as a volley of weapons flies toward him. Dark, stick-like projectiles pierce through the purple mist. The elder laughs maniacally, believing he's trapped him. His victory turns to shock as he realizes his opponent has disappeared. Swoosh! The white-haired man appears behind him, calling him an idiot and saying he was going to spare him for Haitian's sake. Crackle. Blue lightning arcs intensely around his sword. The elder stares in terror, recognizing the powerful sword energy of the sword Calamity. Boom! An immense force is unleashed. A devastating whirlwind of slashes tears through the area. The cataclysmic energy blast continues its destruction. The white-haired man stands calmly amidst a swirling vortex of power. A man is struck across the face as horrified onlookers realize the banquet hall has collapsed. A man in a hat recognizes the impossible sword energy as the sword Calamity's Byokryoxium of the Radiant Dragon, and questions how he can use it. Amidst the destruction, the man's feet land softly on the ruined floor. He stands confidently, surrounded by an aura of power, and asks what they plan to do now. The crowd murmurs in disbelief, questioning if the sword Calamity has truly appeared. A woman asks the Great Master if he had a past connection with the sword Calamity, and he confirms it was from his youth. A panel introduces Great Master Yoji, a high-ranking Shaolin monk revered as a living Buddha. The white-haired man stares back as the Great Master notes his strong resemblance to a young benefactor, Zhongyun, and wonders if he had a child. The Great Master formally asks about his relationship with the sword Calamity, also called the sword Immortal. The white-haired man casually remarks that the stinky monk has aged, cheekily asking if he still wets the bed. A flashback shows a younger, taller, white-haired man standing with a child monk. He laughs, remarking that he sees many familiar faces here. He calls out two flustered men in the crowd, one for following his daughter and the other for hiding erotica from his master. He stands over the stunned crowd, asking if they still don't recognize him. He dismisses everyone present as being far too lax. With a menacing grin, he says he's been too quiet lately, causing the Great Master to realize with horror that it's truly him. The Great Master calls it impossible, shocked that the man, who should be over 90, has appeared with a youthful body. The white-haired man declares that these men messed with his children, leaving the Great Master confused. He reveals his children to be the black turban thieves, including the purple-haired woman and the children from before. The crowd reels from the shocking revelation that the sword Calamity is behind the black turban thieves. A memory recalls the black turban thieves injuring the divine condor overlord's son, Huangbo Jingwang. The crowd murmurs, processing the dangerous implications of this connection. A dark-haired man orders his men to detain the fiends as his son looks on in shock. A stern elder steps forward, warning the white-haired man's group not to move or they will be killed. The man with the headband trembles as he is told not to act like a thug. A white-haired, blindfolded man warns them that while he doesn't care if they kill each other, they must never touch civilians or children. His rage builds as he recalls repeatedly warning them about this. He furiously questions if they dared to touch his children. A large language model is a computer program that has been trained on a massive amount of text data. It can generate human-like text, translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, and answer your questions in an informative way. The white-haired, blindfolded man repeats his warning. He doesn't care if they fight and kill each other, but they are forbidden from touching civilians or children. A red aura of pure fury surrounds him, as he asks if they dared to touch his children. A man with a purple topknot stammers in fear, claiming they didn't know the Black Turban Thieves were the Sword Immortal's people and insisting the thieves started it. The Sword Immortal scoffs, revealing he knows that someone named Huangbo Jingwang intimidated them first. The Poison King watches the scene unfold, wondering why his own sect leader is remaining silent. The narration introduces a legendary secret place within the Tang clan. This place is the Amkian Cave, a perilous spire surrounded by darkness, accessible only to the most outstanding members of the clan. Elsewhere, a young woman with reddish-brown hair asks in disbelief if someone really refused her great-aunt. A voice from a dark cave agrees, admitting she used to be quite popular and liked the man for being aloof. An attendant with dark hair tied up is amazed, thinking how incredible the young lady is to speak so happily with the master of the Amkian Cave. The master of the Amkian Cave is introduced as Meng Yang Gwi, the supreme power behind the Myriad Poison Clan, a being feared by all martial artists. The narration explains that the Poison King has always prioritized her opinions. The attendant reflects that the master is famous for never showing her face, but is especially kind to the young lady. The young lady with reddish-brown hair smiles warmly. Her great-aunt's voice playfully asks if there's a man she's interested in, causing the young lady to blush and ask where she heard that. The great-aunt offers to step in and help if she thinks he's a good match, prompting the young lady to remark that he looks similar to someone. When her great-aunt asks to whom, the young lady explains that he resembles the man in the painting hanging in her room. Staring at a painting of a white-haired man, she wonders if they are truly similar, while her great-aunt reacts with a shocked "What?" As the great-aunt wonders how they could look so alike, the young lady realizes this man might be the first love she just mentioned. Her expression becomes intense with realization. Suddenly, a massive blast of green energy erupts from afar as the young lady realizes something is happening at the main building. As her great-aunt cries out for her, a voice announces that that man has finally reappeared. The great-aunt's inner voice reveals she has been waiting for a long time for the sword Calamity. The white-haired, blindfolded man, the Sword Immortal, confronts the Poison King and asks why he is silent. Typhoon looks distraught, and the Sword Immortal asks him what's wrong. With a panicked expression, Typhoon stammers about the Saintess, prompting the Sword Immortal to urgently ask if something happened to Sojin. The Poison King sighs, remarking that the Sword Calamity looks like something has happened. The Poison King taunts the Sword Immortal, saying he can't even protect his own people, but the intruder retorts that he should look at his own house. The Sword Immortal glares, asking who truly failed to protect what was precious to them. The Poison King realizes the Sword Immortal is attacking the Myriad Poison Clan on his 60th birthday. The Poison King explodes with rage, vowing the intruder won't leave alive and calling him a relic of the past. He unleashes a massive wave of green energy, screaming that the world has changed. A guest with a beaded necklace notes that the Poison King is using his Yuin Yom Jogi, a technique of absolute masters, to move their hearts. Guests begin to murmur amongst themselves, considering siding with the Poison King to defeat the Sword Calamity, seeing it as a better option than siding with the Wudang sect. The guests are thrown into chaos by a powerful force. More of the Poison King's men are sent flying. The Sword Immortal stands calmly, remarking that this chaotic scene is the Jianghu he remembers. Blue lightning crackles around him as he relishes the familiar feeling of a world overflowing with trash and hypocrites. A mysterious figure cloaked in purple energy reacts with shock. A powerful voice demands to know who dares disturb their house. The figure emerges from a vortex of purple energy, their presence terrifying. Two guards cry out in terror, announcing that Mangyang Gwi, the Demon Queen, has appeared. The Poison King stares in disbelief, stammering at. The remaining men prostrate themselves on the ground, overcome with fear of the Demon Queen. The Poison King kneels before his aunt, the Demon Queen, apologizing for the disturbance and explaining he was just teaching a lesson to someone who insulted their sect. The white-haired man glares with cold intensity. An elder in ornate robes notes the woman hasn't changed, then confidently tells his subordinate, Sampyo, that they can now subdue their target. With glowing red eyes, the white-haired man warns that the elder has forgotten his earnest words. The elder looks up in confusion, asking what he means as a hand reaches for his face. He is reminded of a past warning to stay out of trouble and report immediately should the master return from the western regions. Surrounded by a maelstrom of purple energy, the white-haired man accuses the elder of taking his warning lightly. With a powerful crack, a structure shatters as he states his hatred for repeating himself. A devastating wave of purple energy erupts, consuming everything. The white-haired man stands silently amidst the aftermath. Beaten and bloodied, the elder spits that his opponent is as insane as ever. A man with a top knot reels in shock, asking if his father was just killed by the Demon Queen. The crowd panics, realizing the Poison King is dead and fearing for the future of the Myriad Poison clan. The man with the top knot trembles, lost and unsure of what to do now. He collapses in fear, wanting to act but feeling paralyzed. A voice urges him to be level-headed as he calls out for his father-in-law. His father-in-law advises him to focus on survival and take control of the Myriad Poison clan. The father-in-law thinks to himself that this plan will work in time. The man with the top knot walks with renewed determination. Elsewhere, a woman is surrounded by shadowy, spectral figures. A menacing red-eyed woman glares from above as the calm, white-haired man stands below. The white-haired man sighs, admitting he was reluctant to reveal his identity to avoid this very situation as warriors surround him. He effortlessly stops a sword with his hand, asking if they intend to keep fighting. He warns them to choose wisely, as he's in a very bad mood. Terrified, the warriors all kneel and apologize profusely to the Sword Immortal. The aftermath is described. Kim Jae achieved a one-sided victory. The clan's vice leader, Dang Won, was forced to apologize, and the Poison King's birthday became his funeral. Vice leader Dang Won apologizes to the Sword Immortal, who dismisses him curtly. An elder asks the dark-haired man if he is Cheong Ri-wan, Lord of Cheonggajang. The man confirms his identity, addressing the elder as Elder Sword Immortal. The Sword Immortal announces their departure, but his word is cut short. A child's voice cries out for her grandfather, startling the Sword Immortal. A little girl named Sojin leaps into his arms for a hug, catching him by surprise. He gently pats the smiling girl's head. The purple-haired woman with horns grabs his hair, scolding him for causing trouble and asking why Sojin is hurt. The Sword Immortal explains his surprise, while Sojin tells him his direct involvement would have defeated the purpose of her coming. Sojin explains that if he had come himself, the enemies wouldn't have had to apologize. He looks thoughtful. He internally reflects that having his subordinate handle the situation makes for a much more impressive story than if he had intervened directly. Sojin beams, saying she always knew her grandpa would come for her. He playfully pinches her cheeks, telling her to worry about herself first instead of thinking he's all-powerful. He smiles warmly, telling her that she is the most important thing to him. A man with a mustache informs his senior uncle that they will not be returning to Kunlun. He declares their intention to travel with the Black Turban Thieves to see more of the world. Though his uncle questions the decision, the man insists on gaining more experience before returning to Kunlun. He promises to contact their masters himself to seek their understanding. He resolves to accept any punishment, even losing his title as Great Disciple. A purple-haired woman by his side voices her agreement, also wishing to explore the world. Their senior uncle looks down, his expression hidden, and simply asks if that's so. He surprisingly relents, telling them to do as they wish. The uncle reflects that they were never the type to listen and warns them not to stay away too long. The Great Disciple agrees to leave, thinking that perhaps he was the one who needed this. As they depart, a massive, glowing blue dragon spirit manifests behind the Great Disciple. A blue-haired woman watches them go, wondering how these events will change the world of Jianghu. A blue-haired woman angrily states that a great elder has passed away, demanding to know how someone could laugh on such a day. A man in red gestures cheerfully, asking Ms. Zhug if she doesn't also look amused. She denies it. The man asks Ms. Zhug what she'll do, noting that all the other guests are leaving while she remains. The man turns to face Ms. Zhug as they stand together in the quiet courtyard. A man with dark blue hair slides a door open, peering into the courtyard. The blue-haired man smiles slyly, greeting his beloved junior brother and Mrs. Zhug. He offers to leave them to their conversation, and as he walks away, Miss Zhuge mutters, "Drunkard." The man in red calls out to the departing blue-haired man, addressing him as Nangong. The man in red smiles, inviting Nangong to leave with them in the morning instead. Nangong swiftly grabs the other man's hand to stop him. Coldly, Nangong rejects the offer and states he will be leaving first. As Nangong walks off, he thinks to himself that he's feeling a bit lonely. The man in red and Ms. Zhug watch him go, the scene dissolving into an inkwash. Nangong suddenly panics, realizing he might have left his money pouch in the room. He quickly changes his mind, deciding it's better this way. Resolved, Nangong walks away, planning to start over with his finances and relationships. Whoosh! The scene shifts to an elder in a green robe standing watch outside. The elder bows his head solemnly. Elder, FWIP. The elder turns in surprise to see who called him. Dash. He rushes toward a crowd led by the white-haired man, apologizing for not helping with the Million Poison Clan incident. The white-haired man smiles, remarking that news travels fast, and he was just considering heading there. The elder warns that news of the white-haired man's return will soon spread throughout the martial world. Holding a sleeping child, the white-haired man anticipates turmoil and orders the children's bedroom to be warmed. He then begins to say one more thing, glancing at the elder. Seeing the elder's fearful reaction, the white-haired man dismisses it, while the elder internally decides to delay reporting that he found the third-born young master. Swoosh! Alone in a room, the white-haired man calls out to a hidden presence. He glances to the side, coolly telling them to come out already. Unsettling giggles echo through the room as purple smoke begins to swirl. Creak! A ghostly woman with long, light hair and glowing red eyes emerges from the shadows, greeting him as "Milord." The white-haired man questions her use of "Milord" as she playfully reaches for him, feigning ignorance. TSK. He grabs her scarred face, telling her she's grown more brazen. Swish. He lets her go, asking if she still hasn't recovered from the poisoning. Squeeze. The woman grabs his wrist, boldly asking if his kindness means he's ready to accept her heart. She smiles, assuring him she's changed little and that he has done nothing wrong. She compliments his unchanging beauty, and he replies that he had too much left to do to die. He sits across from her, pointedly asking again if she has recovered from the poison. Grin. She boasts of ridding herself of the puny poison, and he asks why her face is still scarred if she's cured. Swish. She explains that at nearly 90 years old, her shattered body can't recover, and she had no reason to fix her face. She adds that there was no one she wanted to show her face to, but hints that she might change her mind now. Chills. Her eye glows as she menacingly asks if he took up with another woman in her absence. She then notes that she heard him call a child his granddaughter. The view shifts to show Sojin sleeping peacefully under a blanket. Doom. The woman erupts in a dark aura, demanding to know if the child is his with the Seoul girl or the scheming wench Iceflower. She recoils as he denies it, stating Jiseol is married and he hasn't seen Snowski Iceflower in 50 years. He. The woman floats over to the sleeping child as he adds that he's a Taoist cultivator with no time for children. FWIP. The woman turns back to the white-haired man, questioning who the child is. Glare. The white-haired man's patience wears thin, and he sternly tells her she's had enough. Swish. The white-haired man announces it's time for business. Halt! The woman with long, light hair notes a rat is trying to infiltrate the Million Poison Clan and asks how he'll deal with it, identifying the target as the head of Chang Manor. Smile. She says she knows something and will leave the rat alone for now, despite his aggravating attempts. Doom. Surrounded by her followers, she declares she must first discover who is truly behind him. The white-haired man appears, asking to join her plan as he has a personal grudge against the string pullers. He reveals his suspicion that the Order is the mastermind behind it all. He intends to use the head of the manor as bait to uproot and crush the Order completely. She welcomes his help, noting he's in the mood for a hunt, and asks what she can do for him. Grin. He smiles as she caresses his face. Chirp, chirp. He gives an order to make an announcement first thing tomorrow morning. Whoosh. A man with long dark hair sighs heavily at his desk. Tremble. He panics, wondering what he must do now. Slide. An older man with a white goatee enters, telling his dear son-in-law not to be disheartened. Smile. The father-in-law holds a book, assuring him that this is just the beginning. Clench. The son-in-law admits the Calamity sword is formidable, having single-handedly demolished their headquarters without taking any lives. The father-in-law confirms he inspected the royal guardians 8, who were all gravely injured but will recover after a few months. Yell. The son-in-law shouts in disbelief, finding the news impossible. Yell. He rages that their forces were thoroughly shamed before all their guests. Clench. He fumes at the man who caused it all, and the granddaughter who made it worse are nowhere to be found. Tat, tat, tat. Burst! A man rushes in, shouting about an emergency for the junior clan master. Ha ha. The messenger pants, reporting that the witch empress has called an assembly of elders. Whoosh! Stomp stomp. They are discussing electing a regent, and the likely candidate is Jong-hyun, the Calamity sword. 2 guards try to stop someone, explaining that the elders are in a meeting and no one may enter. Holler. The junior clan master angrily orders them out of his way. Slam. He bursts into the meeting, calling out to his granddaughter as she sits on a throne surrounded by dark energy. Yell. He demands to know how she could elect the new regent. The woman with long, light hair turns, silently asking what he means. Tremble. He furiously objects to choosing an outsider who tarnished the clan's reputation. He continues his tirade, pointing out that his father's funeral is still underway and that he, the junior clan master, was excluded from the discussion. Doom. He proudly declares that he, Wandang, has been the one taking care of the clan's internal affairs for decades. Freeze. He stops short, confused, as the woman asks if he is done. Chills. The witch empress coldly asks if he is done talking and dismisses him, saying she has nothing more to say. Yell! He protests again as guards begin to escort him out. 2 elders intervene, telling the junior clan master that it's enough, while he pleads with them to stop her, claiming she's not in her right mind. An elder explains that while they understand his pain, the witch empress has made her decision, and the assembly has voted in agreement. Chills. Another elder adds that the king of poisons announced Chaeyoung as his heir, so the regency is only temporary until his leadership is established. Wandang looks utterly stunned and defeated by the news. Whoosh! SSK. His father-in-law greets him as he returns, asking about the meeting. The father-in-law observes that his son-in-law seems disturbed and looks pale. Wandang covers his face in despair, explaining his granddaughter plans to entrust the clan to the Calamity sword, and no one would listen to him. He desperately asks his father-in-law what he should do. The father-in-law stares intently, asking if he believes the Million Poison clan is heading in the wrong direction. A hand closes in on him. Tup. Wandang grabs his father-in-law's hand, agreeing it's wrong to appoint an enemy as their leader. Doom. The father-in-law asks if the clan's chiefs and warriors share his discontent and demands certainty. Wandang confirms that several disgruntled chiefs visited him the previous night. Done. The father-in-law grabs him, urging him to seize this opportunity and take power. Gleam. He tells Wandang to join the other displeased clan members, seize power, and right what is wrong, promising his full support. Doom. Wandang stands in shock, realizing his father-in-law is suggesting treason. The father-in-law reframes the plan, saying it's not for ambition but to undo an abnormal situation and help the clan correct its course. A man with reddish-brown hair realizes something. Doom. In a flashback, he recalls a newfound ambition after disposing of his brothers as a child. He wonders if the Calamity sword has thrown the clan into chaos. A woman advises him on how to swiftly seize control of the clan by taking over key positions. Doom. He worries, however, that his grandaunt and the elders aligned with her stand in his way. A scarred older man appears, telling him not to worry, much to the first man's surprise. Doom. The scarred man offers to introduce him to some capable friends, suggesting he wait before making a decision. The scarred man reveals his group calls themselves the Order, standing before an assembly of powerful figures. Whom? A narration reveals that Jeong-hyun, the Calamity sword, has returned in the body of a young man. Whoosh! The news of the legendary warrior's return and his connection to the Black Turbans shocked the martial world. Swish clans that had oppressed the Mudang clan for 30 years began to panic over the Calamity's return. In contrast, Gyun County, home to Mudang Mountain, became a bustling and lively place once more. Doom. Meanwhile, the Million Poison clan fell into chaos after their Ghoul Empress returned with a shocking announcement. Whoosh! The Black Turbans, the primary culprits of recent turmoil, were released without suffering any losses. The fate of the old angler of Gyeon, who severed Jingwang Wangbo's arm, has yet to be decided. Whoosh! An old man with a head covering sighs deeply while sitting beneath a massive tree. He and his men discuss the Sword Immortal's unnerving silence. A younger man nervously speculates that the Sword Immortal is planning to kill them all. The old man's anxiety grows, noting the Sword Immortal's silence since the previous night. Slash! As the white-haired man turns, the old man wishes he would just give them a beating instead. A young man asks the elder if he's also afraid, but the elder rebuffs being called Big Bro. The young man argues they're all one family now, and the elder laughs at the thought of calling him Little Bro. Swish! The old man grimly admits that while they all caused trouble, he was the worst of them. He doesn't regret his actions, however, because someone had dared to harm his grandson. He reflects that the incident revealed his grandson Hyunho's bravery in risking his life for unrequited love. He rallies his men, telling them to keep their chins up and not to worry. He instructs his men to stay safe, leaving them confused by his words. FWIP. A dark-haired man appears, summoning the old man to see the Sword Immortal. Whoosh! The messenger confirms that the Sword Immortal is ready to see him now. Bow. The old man kneels before the white-haired man, begging for his own punishment if it means sparing the others. The white-haired man glances at him, clarifying that's not why he was summoned. He explains that Youngdo defended the old man for hours, and Sojin also begged for mercy for the Black Turbans. The old man looks touched, realizing Youngdo had kept his promise. Doom! The white-haired man declares he summoned him for another reason, forcing the elder to his knees with a burst of power. He accuses the old man's Snow Peak bandits of robbing the Flying Tiger Agency, causing the elder to tremble in fear. Thump! The white-haired man pins the elder down, revealing he suspected a high-ranking Black Turban member was the culprit. He grins, warning the elder to choose his words carefully, as he knows the people who ran the agency. Swap. The elder trembles and stammers that they had no choice, but the white-haired man grabs his collar, unconvinced. A chill fills the air as the white-haired man coldly demands a full explanation. Whoosh! The elder begins his story, recounting a great famine that forced his people to leave their mountain stronghold. During their desperate travels, a longtime client offered them a job. Clump. The mission was to ambush the Flying Tiger Agency's caravan in the Great Desert. However, he realized the people in the caravan, women and children included, were just as desperate as they were. Foosh! Showing mercy, his bandits took only a portion of their belongings and sent the caravan on its way. Kneeling before the white-haired man, The elder swears that although they ambushed the agency, they did not take any lives. Whoosh! He reiterates that they only took some supplies before releasing the desperate travelers. Doom! He swears on his honor that while they were once cruel warriors, they have long since left that life behind. Swish. After the deaths of his son and daughter-in-law, he vowed to never again cross the line into true evil. He couldn't bear the thought of his grandson growing up to learn his grandfather was a wicked man. Bowing, the elder concludes by mentioning he later heard the Flying Tiger Party went missing, prompting the white-haired man to ask if they were simply hired swords. The white-haired man ponders, believing the elder's story about the famine. Swish! He wonders what truly happened to the Flying Tiger Party after the ambush. FWIP! He tells the anxious elder he's forgiven because he and his grandson protected Sojin. Jolt! The elder looks up in disbelief and relief. The white-haired man warns him to forget the conversation and never speak of it, especially to Sojin. Whoosh! As the elder departs, he understands the Calamity's sword has banished him. He watches his grandson, wondering if Sojin is somehow connected to the Flying Tiger Agency. He laments that his past actions now seem poised to harm his grandson. Clench! He grimly resolves that his grandson will not suffer because of him. He makes a firm decision. They must leave immediately. Elsewhere, a group of men play a board game as a child cheers them on. FWIP. A young girl playfully calls out to Hyunho, asking where Sojin is. A blushing Hyunho denies missing her, claiming games are just more fun with more people. Tip. The old man, Hyunho's grandfather, approaches the group playing their game. The men look up from their game, surprised by his sudden appearance. Swoosh! The elder gathers his Snow Peak family, announcing he has something important to tell them. Hyunho watches as his grandfather reassures the men that it's nothing serious. Jolt! His grandfather's voice calls out his name, startling him. Sojin appears, happily carrying a basket full of freshly made buns. A purple-haired woman praises Sojin, saying making the buns was much more fun with her help. She smiles, asking Sojin who all the flower buns are for. Sojin happily explains the different buns are for Mr. Evilwind and Hyunho's grandpa. When asked about the Forsythia bun, Sojin says she saw the pretty flowers in the mountains. Swish! The memory shows a beautiful view of Forsythia flowers blooming in the Girion Mountains. Sojin smiles brightly, announcing she's going to deliver the buns now. The purple-haired woman waves, telling her to be careful as Sojin runs off excitedly. A muscular, scarred man notes that all the Snow Peak folk have disappeared, along with their belongings. Sojin finds a man with a top knot, who explains that Hyunho's grandfather left without a trace after speaking to the Sword Immortal. Hearing this, Sojin realizes with a frown that she hasn't seen Hyunho either. She walks through the courtyard alone, looking for them with her basket. Bump. Not looking where she's going, she bumps into someone and cries out. Drop. She falls to the ground as her basket tumbles, spilling the buns everywhere. A large man scowls, a single bun resting comically on his head. He trembles with fury, glaring down at the girl on the ground. Holler Du Seong-jin of the Azureski caravan furiously shouts at her for ruining his expensive clothes. Stomp. He angrily crushes her carefully made buns under his foot, complaining they've dirtied his shoes. Jolt Sojin stares in wide-eyed shock at his cruel act. The man looms over her, demanding payment, but is interrupted by a voice. A firm hand grips Du Seong-jin's shoulder as a familiar elder tells him, "That's enough."